Welcome to the Foul Play YouTube channel. Open mic number 183. Back again at it tonight, right? Causing more mayhem and whatever. Not kidding. Hope everyone's doing well wherever you're located at in the world again. And had at least a good day, even if the weather may be crappy in your part of the world, like it is here typically. So tonight we're going to continue on with that document we started last night that really got interesting, especially when, we're talking about. Sorry, let me turn this down. Thought I had that turned down. Talking about this note that was left. Well, according to Andy, it was either on or near the car. And does that really negate or possibly negate any conversations that Teresa and Joellen had? I don't know. To me, it suggests that. I mean, she could have left a note and then ran into her, I guess. But I personally need to reread Joellen's testimony, both direct and cross, and see what was said because I don't know. That brings up some other just I don't know. It's probably circumstantial, but let's discuss that here in a few minutes. Anyway, let's say hello to everyone that's joined us so far. Looks like we got a pretty good crowd in the live chat. Let everyone here say hello, get their voice out there, and we'll get rolling here just momentarily. So, Alice, how are you again tonight, Grandma?
Yeah, I'm doing okay, Jack. Glad to be here on the last open mic of 2023. Great to see all the usual suspects in chat, and not looking forward to more bollocks tonight with these messages. But let's go.
I hear you. Thanks so much, Alice. And then Kay, how are you tonight?
Hey, I'm good. It's a beautiful day, 55 degrees and no wind here in the middle of the map.
Wow, that's so weird.
So
Oklahoma,
we
no
probably
wind?
won't be seeing that again for a
Yeah,
while.
I guess not.
Anyway, yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing what you have.
Excellent. Allie, thanks for coming. How are you?
Ali's
Hey,
letting the dog out. Oh, is she there?
I literally just sat back down. Thank you. Thanks for inviting me again. I'm really glad to be here, and I can't wait to hear. I heard it gets worse, so can't wait to hear what's coming up tonight. Really excited.
Yeah, and Colborn just can't help but embellishes these various stories, man. It's crazy. Alrighty, thank you, Allie. And then Cherie, how are you tonight?
I'm good. And hello, everybody, and welcome to Open Mic.
Excellent, thank you, Cherie. Susan, after the nap.
Hey, Jack. I'm rested and ready to go.
Fantastic, fantastic. JD, thanks for coming.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, everybody, and hi, Jack, and to everybody in chat and whoever's listening on other streaming methods.
Excellent. Thank you, Jay. And then Dr. Silkman up early. And Adam, thanks for coming.
Thank you very much, Jack 61. It's a beautiful day here in Adelaide, South Australia, and can't wait to rip into this one. Thank you, and welcome everyone in chat.
Yeah, this is going to be fun. And I say fun, that's not really, I don't really mean fun. I don't. I'm just using that. Anyway, so Susan, can you check out the live chat there? We're close to 40 people in live chat, but of those that have said hello, can you give us a greeting?
You bet, Jack. Let's see. We have Ali in chat and on panel. We have Trav. Hello, Trav. Sela442. Hi. JD is on panel and in chat. D. Peterson. Hey, D. Peterson. Passive Bear. Welcome. Dark Side of the Moon. Hello, my darling. Alice is on panel and in chat. Under Your Scars has joined us again. Hello. What the Beck? What the Beck? Hey, what the Beck? Cher. Hello, Cher. Lisa Sukowski. Hey, Lisa. How you doing? Graham Moss has joined us. Hello, Graham. Dr. Silkman is in chat and on panel. Nan's Life is with us once again. Hi, Nan's Life. Rhonda SD. Hello, Rhonda. Hello, Barb. Hi, hello, Barb. Kay is on panel and in chat. Jazz Naz is with us. Hello, Jazz Naz. Let's see, Anthony Hills. Hello, Anthony. Did I get rumor has it?
I don't think
Hello,
so.
Justine J. Hello, thanks for coming. Share. I may repeat some of these. Destia. Hello, Destia. That's a new name for me, I think. I think that is it so far. I hope I got everybody. Just ask you all to please be respectful in chat and stay on topic. We really appreciate that.
Absolutely. Where did we leave off last night, guys? Page 15? I'm sure it was.
I was wondering the same thing.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I intentionally got to page 15 and I clipped it right there. So that's where I'm scrolling to here before I pop it on the screen. 34 pages.
My page numbers aren't showing. What Schuler number is that?
Hold on, I'll tell you. Why your page numbers? Did you break your page numbers?
I don't know.
Okay, there's 15. We'll double check that. Schuler page number 15 is 00343. Let me get this on screen here. Okay, I've made this a little bit bigger tonight. Make it easier for my eyes are still good, but they got a lot of miles on them. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it.
I think we stopped at the middle one on that page, 113.28.
Well, I can't see the time because I got it blowed up so big.
Oh, it's the middle.
Let me see. So
there's three.
You sure I didn't read that last one? I may not have. Box Finney.
Oh yeah,
I did.
I think maybe you did. Yeah.
I did read that. Did we look under the bed? Yeah, I read that one. Yeah, I'm sure I did.
So it's the next page.
It is the next page. So, before we start tonight, I do want to reiterate what Susan was talking about a minute ago. No matter where people stand on their side of the aisle, the fence, on straddling the fence, on top of the fence, in these cases, it's polarizing. We get upset, but guys, you got to keep it civil. Take the high road. If you feel in yourself, you want to say something smart ass to somebody else in the chat, just step away. Just don't type or say, "Hi Jack, how are you?" or "Hi Susan." Just leave it out. It has no place, and it's very distracting to the chat, and it's unfair, and it could be even something you might not necessarily do. Just take the high road. It's better. It's more productive. We're here to get out of this document whatever we can get and discuss it, and not necessarily get upset if somebody's a truther or somebody's a guilter or whatever the case may be. People have been in this dividing line of the cases we're past. I can tell you for a fact, about 8 years ago at this time, I was in the midst of, Reddit ma'am, and the problems had already began between, and some of those very people are still around to this day. So, no matter what, Stephen and Brennan are still locked up, and they've stuck with the case because of the various problems within the case that we bitch and complain about, but they're still here for some reason. They're, for whatever reason, personally, they stuck around. But the problems had already began. My point is that tomorrow and the next day and probably the next however long, that those same issues are not going to go away. The guys are still locked up. And until KZ or some other lawyer can get some movement, that's the way it's going to be. I'm on the side that says, hey, I think we need to redo this trial. Needs to be redone. Yeah, if not, well, I mean, I don't think it'd be an outright release, but at minimum, there needs to be another trial because I think there's so many issues with all the first stuff. But that's me. Keep it civil, guys, please. Doc or anyone want to add anything to that before we start reading?
No, that's pretty good. Pretty happy with that. It is important to be civil and to not hijack the chat.
Yeah.
We're all here to learn. We're all here for the same thing, and the more information that we can put out there, the better. And as you said, Jack 61, as you've always said, the important thing is to derive your own conclusions, do your own reading, come up with your own conclusions, and take it from there. Thank you.
That's right. Even having the diverse opinion wherever channel you may be landed in is fine, as long as you're civil about it. That's fine. You can ask harder questions of people that don't agree with you in a civil way and have a conversation. It's a choice. Anyway, so let's go again here
Hopefully
tonight.
on topic. Hopefully
Yeah,
on
please
topic
stay.
is what I
Please,
said.
yeah, please stay on topic. I mean, if you have an off-topic question, I'm not saying we won't answer it, but it's probably going to get highlighted, and then we'll try to get to it at the end. So you're certainly welcome. As always, put a Q in front of whatever you want to ask, so one of the mods can see it and we can get it highlighted, and maybe we can cover it later. If it's on topic, as in the moment, we'll try to answer it immediately. That we don't have to fool it at the end of the show. So, Susan, you feel like reading some more tonight, or are you read out?
Oh, I'll read a little bit.
Okay. Well, you can start whenever you're ready, and just whenever you get tired and want to take a break, let me know.
So you think we're at 118?
Let me see here. Why won't that scroll?
Top of that page?
Yeah. I'm sure I read that bottom of 115. I think we're at the top of 116, or top not 16. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, that is, we were supposed to, after completing that general search, report back to. They had set up a command post by this time. Upon completion of the general search of Steve's trailer, looking for Teresa Halbach's body or evidence that she'd been in there, we were to report back to the command post for possibly another assignment. However, by this time it was getting late at night. We went back to the command post. They said, "That's good for tonight. You're dismissed. Be back out here tomorrow and we'll figure out what you're going to do tomorrow when you get out here." We took a big, again, it was like, "We could use you out here tomorrow if you're available." It wasn't like, I think that's what that meant. Oh, yeah. Sorry, that's what it said. It was more like, "We have minimal resources here. Minimal resources." Most of the guys from Calumet County are not investigators. They're patrol officers thrust into this because there were no other resources available. DOJ probably had resources, but at that particular time, when this case kicked off, we didn't know how long it was going to take DOJ to mobilize resources out there. It was made clear to us by the lead investigators and by Sheriff Poggle that resources would be need from Manitowoc County in order to make this successful, and a lot of other agencies. But at that time, this case occurred in Manitowoc County. We had some resources available. They needed to be utilized. I believe we were told to be out there no later than 7 a.m. And to the best of my knowledge, we were there on time. Myself, Detective Remaker, Lieutenant Link, and this particular day, which would be now Sunday, we were assigned a different Calumet County deputy. Deputy Kaharski was the team leader for that day. That day, we were given the assignment. Next to Stephen Avery's residence is a detached garage. We were told to do a search of that garage for any evidence that we could uncover that would pertain to Teresa Halbach's disappearance.
Again, I don't want to just kill your the flow here, but I do again want to point out.
Whenever, Jack.
Well, the problem again is having to have a minder with Manitowoc. You can see it's right here. So it already is sapping the resources, and he's talking about having a lack of resources right now. So this is a big problem right off the bat, and they had to recognize that. And why somebody didn't say, you know what, this is going to be a problem? Maybe they did. I don't know. I'm just talking about from a common sense standpoint of view. If I were, a captain or whatever, even maybe even one of the investigators, I'd be like, you know what, this is really good. You're really going to kill us here if you let these guys stay involved. I don't know. Just a thought. Anyone else?
He says most of the guys from Calumet County are not investigators. Well, what about their investigators? Why weren't they used in the top, in the major
I agree.
searches?
I agree. And they do have, there's Dettering. There's some, there's Reimer. Sippel's a lieutenant, but he still investigated. He was used. But there are a few others too that really seem to kind of not be in the lead. They did stuff, but they were kind of off to the side and didn't say too much. They did report, but not a lot of in your face kind of conversation like we. Yeah.
Not collecting evidence and.
Well, no, they did collect some, but they were more in handling the evidence, like Reimer. I mean, he was all over the place, but he wasn't like a lead investigator for the most part that I can really recall. And there are others too.
Just like to search the trailer in the garage. I mean,
right.
They did have those resources. They were leading the investigation.
That's right.
It just seems to me like, maybe throw one Manitowoc guy in there, but, put a couple of Calumet.
Jack, Ali's asking if you can move the box that's on the left-hand side of the corner, the screen.
Oh. Yeah, see if I can get rid of that. If not, I'll make it. I'll make it. Here, let me just make it more readable. Give me just a second here, and I'll pop this off screen. I don't want to be sitting here adjusting on this, and I'll make it fit. Give me just a second here. If anybody else has got any comments right quick, then
Lisa Sikowski says my county, Wapaka County, is pretty big. Why didn't they ask any other nearby counties for help? Right.
I mean that's kind of the line that that we were going on last night and today, and actually on Allie's live, me and Allie and who was it? Is his name? Is that Jeremy? Is that right?
Jeremy, yes.
Yeah, I mean we had a pretty good. We had some discussion about that last night.
It was a great live. I listened to it this morning. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
He says they didn't know how long it would take DOJ to mobilize. Well, did they even ask?
No, not really.
Well, yeah, how would you freaking know then? If you don't even talk to them.
Right. But they had other resources. They had other resources available too that they could have used, in my opinion, that they could have asked. Alice?
Anthony House is asking, is the RAV at the crime lab by this time?
The morning of the 6th, early morning.
Yeah, it got there at
1:50 crime lab.
1:15 a.m. I believe is what Erdl said.
Sounds right.
Yeah, I believe that's right. Okay, I think that right
so
there.
Yeah, Andy's talking about Sunday here. So yeah, it had arrived.
As far as we know, it was there. Again, and it was another conversation. I'm not going to get off sidetracked. The chain of custody thing.
Oh,
that's a topic. Well, I'm not going to bring it up now. We'll talk about it later. I'm not going to do it now.
Okay.
So, yep. Continue on whenever you're ready. Hopefully, is that better, Allie? The
Yes,
bar's
it's
not.
perfect. Yeah,
Thank you. Yep. You got it.
Okay. As soon as we entered the garage, we noticed there were spent shell casings on the floor. It seemed rather odd that there would be spent shell casings inside the garage. Gave one cause to believe that somebody had fired a firearm inside this building. That particular day, Deputy Kaharski said, I feel more comfortable taking photographs and supervising what you guys are doing, as opposed to actually collecting all this evidence and picking it all up and processing it. There wasn't a lot of garage space available. There was not enough room for him to get his truck, which was a full-size Ford pickup truck, really into the garage.
No, without
There were
taking a bunch of
different,
shit out of there.
right?
Yeah.
There were different types of apparatus for working on motor vehicles. There was, if I remember right, it was a Suzuki Samurai or a similar sized vehicle inside that garage. It didn't look like that vehicle was operational. In addition, there was a snowmobile inside that garage. So the shell casings were, there was one here, one there, one here, one there, somewhere a little bit underneath a workbench or the different items that were in the garage. They weren't just like a neat pile. Eventually, I think we found a dozen or so, I want to guess, or estimate that we found a dozen or so. So it sounds to me like they looked underneath everything and went thoroughly over that garage.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Just forgot to look under the compressor, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
He says we found one underneath, a workbench and
Yeah. Oh, they looked. I have no doubt they looked.
yeah. It looked to me, like I mentioned, someone had fired a firearm inside that building. For whatever reason, they had fired a firearm inside the building and then rapidly exited the building,
Oh my
leaving the
God.
shell casings scattered where they were. Yes. Now, come on.
Doc, tell me how he knows that. Is Kaharski's apparently really talented here.
Well, this is Colborn talking.
Yeah, that's Colborn.
I mean, no, I said Kaharski. I meant Colborn.
Yeah. Don't get me started here, Jack 61, because remember the whole premise here, for the reason why they went inside the trailer and the garage on multiple times, as was stated on Convicting a Murderer, was they were only doing cursory looks, right? But what is interesting here is that Colborn surmises that someone had shot a firearm in the garage and rapidly exited the garage, implying some type of nefarious activity because they rapidly exited the building. And the other comment he made was very interesting. He said that he felt a need to collect the handcuffs and leg irons just in case there was DNA on them, Teresa's DNA. So please don't tell me that they went in half blind. They were definitely looking for any type of evidence that potentially led to Teresa Hallbach being there. And it's interesting that he's already making a summation about the shell casings. Now, this is rural Wisconsin. Did it ever occur to him that someone may have picked up the shell casings and just simply threw them in the garage?
No.
So what he's doing is very clever. He's laying down the breadcrumbs to a narrative. Yep. It's as obvious as anything.
Well, yeah,
He's over explaining things.
Yes.
Way over explaining.
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
That's right.
Correct.
He's had how many years to come up with this?
Several.
13.
13 years, I think.
12, whatever.
Well,
Okay.
from 2005 until,
No, I was thinking from the trial, but yeah, from '05, from when he was there, I guess.
yep, to
Yeah.
2018.
Yeah. Okay, they did and were 22 spent shell casings. I remember during the course of the trial, the prosecutor asked me why I knew they were 22 shell casings. A 22 caliber ammunition is one of the few ammunitions that doesn't have a center primer. It's fired off the rim of the shell casing, hence, it's called a rimfire weapon. A 22 is called a rimfire weapon, and these were all rimfire expended 22 caliber rounds on the thing. Coincidentally, the firearm above Stephen Avery's bed was a 22 caliber rifle, in addition to a muzzleloader. I don't know how long the garage search took. I can't give you an accurate time. I want to say at least 3 hours, maybe 2 to 3 hours. What do we know, guys?
Can
Do you
I
remember?
just add a comment?
Yeah.
Can you believe that he referred back to Stephen Avery's .22?
Of course.
And
Oh, sure.
forgot to mention that there were several other .22 caliber rifles exactly like Stephen had.
Yep.
On the property.
Notice
On
his
on
focus,
the property.
his focus was on Stephen.
Yep.
Well, he believes Stephen is guilty. I mean, you know.
Sure, but if he's being fair, he would have said in his recollections, oh, by the way, we collected several .22 caliber rifles that could have fired that shell. No, he's narrowed the narrative already.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Sure. I don't know how long. Oh, I already read that. I'm sorry. Yes, a 12-hour shift. Every day that I was out there, with the exception of Saturday, was a 12-hour day. When we were done with the garage, when we felt that we had collected all the evidence that was there at that garage, we all went back to the command post, and Deputy Kaharski got the next assignment, which they said, quote, "We'd like you to go through Stephen Avery's truck again and see if there's any evidence that might indicate that Teresa Habach was inside Stephen Avery's truck." End quote.
Go over it
We went back
again.
there. Yeah.
Go ahead. Finish this one up.
We went back there and we started searching the truck. The truck was parked in front of his garage. Like I previously mentioned, he couldn't fit it in the garage, so he had just had it parked in the little driveway in front of the garage.
Went back
I believe,
over it and re-examined it. I mean, how many times is something?
yeah,
I mean, it's kind of like, to me, it's, again, we're going back to fishing trips here.
this is on Sunday. When did they go through it? Did they also
You
do it
know,
on Saturday?
nah, I don't.
I
Well,
recall.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't remember if they look. I don't think they looked at it Saturday, but I don't know.
Yeah. Well, they found nothing there anyway.
Correct.
Okay, I believe the truck was unlocked. We just were starting the photographing of the truck, and there's sometimes you have to hold lighting or something for the person that's taking pictures. I believe I was starting to assist Deputy Kaharski with photography, with photographing the truck when we were given another assignment. One of the Calumet County Patrol supervisors came up and said, "We need you to come over here by Stephen Avery's residence. There's a burn barrel. We need to get some pictures of that, and then we need to get it loaded onto a trailer." If I remember it right, it was raining again that day, so I was like, okay. I went and got my camera, my equipment, and Detective Remaker, Lank, and I went over to the burning barrel where another Calumet County, I believe, officer was in charge of that collection of that burning barrel. There was a discussion. We need to tarp this so that water doesn't damage the contents of the burning barrel. I took some pictures of it. Ultimately, it was loaded up into, I believe, an enclosed trailer and transported away. Then the same supervisor came up and asked me if I knew where Maribel Caves Park was. And I said, yes, I know where the Maribel Caves County Park is. And he goes, well, there's some civilian searchers, private citizens who are out there also looking for Teresa. They came upon some clothing items. We need to go out there and make contact with these searchers that are going to be standing by what they discovered and collect that stuff.
Wow, have we moved into? We clearly moved into a different day.
We're still on Sunday.
Yeah, but they didn't collect. They didn't collect his. Well,
Did they collect the Dassey barrels that day? I think they might have.
Maybe, but Siders.
But why is
didn't.
he just saying singular barrel?
Siders didn't empty that barrel to take that rim out of the top of that burning barrel, Stevens burning barrel, until the 7th, if I'm right, around noon.
Exactly. Yeah. Right.
Am I saying? Yeah. Okay. So that's the 7th, and I believe the 7th was Monday, right? Yeah, it was. Saturday was the 5th.
Yep. Yeah. So that's why I'm thinking he must be talking about Dassey barrel, and I remember the tarp over those barrels.
Right.
But why is it singular and not plural?
I don't know.
He's referring to Stevens barrel.
Say that again, JD.
He's referring to Stevens barrel.
Right.
Well, he didn't say that. He didn't say Stevens barrel. He didn't say where it was at.
I thought he said it was out in front of Stephen's residence.
Yeah.
It would have been Stephen.
Oh, yeah. He did.
Yeah.
That was a different
We need
day.
you to come over here by Stephen Avery's residence. There's a burn barrel.
That's right.
He's jumped a
You're
day.
absolutely right.
So I'm saying he's jumped a day here, or he's
either that or they took that barrel and brought it back. Remember, they brought a barrel back.
I thought that was. I'm thinking that was barrel number 4, but I could be misremembering.
Well,
I haven't really read through that shit.
That's what they said, but the barrels.
But they had already been. But they had already been transported to Calumet County, and for some reason that one barrel got brought back, which I don't really understand at all.
Right.
Yeah, the barrels are a mess.
So he's saying they put Stevens barrel on a trailer, and it was transported away.
Mm-hmm.
And then they find the electronics the next day in that barrel. On the property.
I think Colborn's got it wrong. He's talking about the underburn barrels, because we're talking about here Sunday, because I'm just looking at the CASO report and where they took the 4 burn barrels. So Andrew got it wrong. You're correct, Susan. They placed tarps, a blue tarp over the 4 burn barrels, and they had a trailer, and they loaded the burn barrels onto the trailer. And I remember the picture. Lenk was there, Remica was there, Kaczarski. So he's talking about the 4 burn barrels belonging to the Yonder residence, not Stephen Avery's residence.
And Poggle
well, this is 13 years later. However, Brenda's right here. I'm quite sure. If it's not her asking the questions, I'm guessing it is. But even if not, she's there. She knows these details.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that, she hasn't kind of corrected them on that. I don't know.
And not only that, moving into the Maribel Caves thing, Colborn went by himself. He was not assisted by a Calumet County officer.
A Calumet. Yeah. Somebody else went with him, but it was Manitowoc. Right?
Well, if you say so, I don't remember. I just remember him going.
Yeah.
But
He says Remaker and I went there.
Okay,
Just the
well, there you
next
go.
sentence.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, anybody got anything else before we move
Okay.
on to the next part? We good? Okay.
Okay, it's talking about Maribel. That's
Yep.
some distance. It's some distance, 4 miles maybe. Detective Remaker and I went there. We made contact. They were still there. These private citizen searchers were still there. We collected the items that they pointed out to us, and we turned those items back over to Calumet County. By the time we got back from Maribel Caves Park, Kaharski had told me that he had completed the search of Stephen Avery's truck. I don't know if he worked with somebody else but he was done. That project was done, and I believe that might be the day we were given one more assignment, and that was to go in ...
Got clipped.
I can't remember if it was that day or the following day, but one of these days, either Sunday or Monday, our whole team was asked to go back into Stephen Avery's residence and get the serial number off his computer. Why would they need the whole team for that?
Well, it's a big job.
That's it. Just get the serial number off his computer.
Because they have so many resources.
Right.
Right. Oh, geez. I thought it was that day. I'm not 100% positive on that because there was another day we were also asked to collect his gun. That was on different days, but I thought that day I was asked to get the serial number of his computer. On the day that I was asked to get the serial number of Stephen Avery's computer, I crawled underneath a desk with a flashlight while Calumet County stood by with a notepad. I read the serial number and the manufacturer number and the model number off to the Calumet County officer who had the notepad, and we were out of his residence in under 10 minutes. Every time that we went into Stephen Avery's residence after Saturday, it was a specific seizure that we were instructed to do. It wasn't just wander around aimlessly inside his residence. It was, we need you to go in there, do this or seize that, and then get out of there. And that's what we did. I would say I believe on that day, on the day that I was asked to seize his weapons, they also said to seize any ammunition you can find. That probably took me the better part of 45 minutes to an hour. I did find 22 caliber ammunition, yes. So the whole thing. Now they actually took the computer, right?
Yes.
Why is he crawling underneath the desk to get the serial number if they're taking it out of there?
The serial
thought
number
that-
was for a warrant.
What's that?
I
Oh, I
The
guess.
serial number was for a warrant, and they went in the following day, took the computer, and that's
Gotcha.
the day when he said he took the porn magazines out of that bedside cabinet on the same
Okay.
day. And the money stayed on top. And the reason why I knew that is because, do you know, there's two attorneys that was doing that 10-hour chats. That's going through the case, which Dr. Silkman said was interested.
Oh, the defense diaries.
I just watched episode 10 of that about an hour before this started.
Okay.
Okay, good.
That's where that came from.
The computer was taken on the 7th.
There you go. So they got the serial number on the 6th, wrote the warrant for that computer, and went back and seized it. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Oh, let's see. I don't recall specifically finding anything for the muzzleloader, which I would have needed to find gunpowder, the balls that you load the muzzleloader. I don't recall specifically finding anything for the muzzleloader, but I do recall seizing 22 caliber ammunition. Oh yes, I also remember on Sunday, Deputy Kaharski, Link, Remaker, and myself were given the assignment to search Barbianda, who's Steve Avery's sister, to search her residence and to collect any firearms, ammunition, and also to search the residence for any evidence that Teresa Halbach may have been in that residence. Because it was Barbianda's vehicle that was being sold that Teresa Halbach had been out there to photograph, when we went into Barbianda's residence, during the course of photographing the residence, we discovered a telephone answering machine, and there were messages on there. I can't recall if they had already been played or not, but we could see that there were messages on there because there was a number lit up. Ultimately, we decided to play the answering machine. We knew we were going to take it for evidence, but we were afraid if we unplug it, what if we end up losing the messages that are on there? We played them and Detective Remaker recorded. And one of those messages was Teresa Halbach speaking and saying that she was coming out there to photograph that van. I believe it was, but I can't tell you what time. I don't recall what time it was that she left the message.
Interesting.
Why didn't they record it at Zippers that way?
Well, that is the question because Remaker was there.
And so was Colborn, wasn't he?
Yep. That's right.
I don't remember specifically being told what was in the burn barrel. I remember sometime during my course of duty out there that there was biological evidence in a fire pit that was really in Stephen Avery's backyard. There was a mean dog that was chained, and you could barely get to the edge of that fire pit, and the dog would come to the edge of his chain and clearly, in an aggressive manner, if you got too close to that dog, you were going to get bit. I believe the command post worked out something. Somebody came out and picked up that dog at some point because we didn't really have access to food and water.
Oh my God.
Really?
Oh my God. Okay.
The dog wasn't being properly taken care of. And 2, it was preventing the search of that fire pit. I think it was after the dog was removed from the property, and I don't know on what date that was. A different search team discovered biological evidence in the burn pit. I wasn't really aware of what was all discovered in that burning barrels, and I had enough on my mind trying to keep straight of what our assignments were and to continue trying not to rush through it, but trying to do it as expeditiously and professionally as possible.
Well,
Comment?
you have professionally completely got all of that pretty much wrong.
Oh my God.
Number one, Barb called, or not Barb, but Carla called about getting the animals on the 6th, and Shedder was like, there ain't there's no animals here. We'd run across them by now. Nobody reported to Shedder. We need to get this dog off the property because somebody's going to get bit. No one. Or that I would think that he would have been removed, right? And he's also clearly not aware of.
Had been there, you know.
Yep,
had
that's
been
right.
on that property. These guys had searched the garage and the trailer. You know, they knew that dog was there.
He's clearly unaware that State Trooper Reese had been there and standing virtually in the burn pit, and Bear's walking around not giving a damn about nothing. He's taking photographs. The video of the 2 officers, who the hell they were, standing right there, Bear could have eaten them alive. He didn't care. Sorry, and plus,
food
and water not. Yeah, food and water not available. Really?
Yeah, and we saw the photograph of the white bucket completely full of food. Furthermore, Sergeant Jason Joyce dropped dog food on the ground, so there was a pile of dog food.
Yep.
Yeah,
right.
And I'd say Colborn needs to study this case a little better.
Yep. And it wasn't Colborn that went up to the burn pit to try and search
Yeah.
it was Remiker and Kacharsky. That's the same day that Kacharsky said he pulled a weapon out on Bear.
Yeah. Right.
When they went to feed him, wasn't it?
No, Kacharsky and Remiker, according to Kacharsky, wanted to search the burn pit, but because of the aggressive dog, they couldn't. And that is exactly the same day that Sergeant Jason Jost and the two other guys, one of whom was a dog handler, went to feed Bear.
Yeah.
On the 7th, correct?
On the 6th.
6th.
Oh, the 6th. Okay.
On the
Yes.
6th. And that's the
That's right.
same day
Yeah.
that Carla and Barb went to feed their dogs.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got
Okay.
pretty much all that incorrect. So,
Yeah.
all right. Unless there's questions, continue on.
Okay.
Yep, go
We
ahead.
did not go in there, and while we definitely wanted to collect every possible piece of evidence that would link the perpetrator of this crime to the crime, we also didn't go in there and destroy anybody's personal property. We weren't emptying cabinets and dumping the contents on the floor. We tried to be respectful of people's property. And we also had in the back of mind that not only do these people live out there are a lot of people that live out here that don't know what the heck went on. How do you know? And have no involvement in it. How do you know, Andy? And their sole source of livelihood is the salvage yard. Every day that we're out there searching and looking for evidence is another day that they're losing money. Now, ultimately, my priority is finding out who committed this horrible crime or collecting evidence to help prove who committed this horrible crime. But I was still somewhat conscious of the fact that there are also innocent people and a business, so we need to try and get this done as quickly as possible. That's why we were out there 12 hours a day instead of knocking off after 8 hours. The longer we work, well, then the quicker that we can get this property turned back over to the rightful owner. Interviewer: let's talk about the next search on Stephen, unless there's anything really noteworthy task-wise between where we're at and the next search. Respondent: Colborn: no, I believe it was November 8th. So I want to say 5, 6, Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday, November 8th. What happened to 7th and Cuss
Well,
Road?
that was Cuss Road. We don't want to talk about that. That's really interesting.
Interesting.
Well,
Yeah,
It-
not
it is-
mentioned at all.
It is significant because he does mention the fact that him and several other detectives were inside Barb Yunder's property, collecting the ammunition, collecting the weapons. What he didn't disclose was that him, Lenk, and I think Tyson were called to Cuss Road twice. He forgot to mention that.
Yes, he did.
No, because he's still on the 6th, isn't he?
Well, I think he's going to jump to the 8th soon, isn't he?
Yes, and notice how the interviewer says, unless there's anything really noteworthy,
Yeah.
task-wise between that's her clever way to jump the 7th, I think,
Yep. And
because it was just a wooden pallet and peat moss bag.
correct, but that was conspicuously absent on convicting a murderer as well. Cuss Road was a no-go zone.
Yep. Okay. Well, by this time, after Sunday, Remiker was no longer part of coming out to the Avery salvage property. He had a family issue and he wasn't able to come out there any longer. So now our search teams consisted of Link, myself, and a Calumet County officer. That's it, the three of us. That particular day, I think Link went it along with the Calumet County officer into the command post to get the assignment. I did not. I waited outside. When they came out, they said, "We have to go back to Stephen Avery's trailer." I remember looking at Lincoln going, really? What else could possibly be in there that we... And pretty much, for lack of a better word, I bitched about it all the way from the command post back to the... And all of us thought it was going to be an exercise in futility. Oh my God. I see him telling this in cam. Jesus. It's laughable.
Yep.
We thought that we had uncovered everything that we could possibly uncover in Stephen Avery's trailer. And then Link said, well, also while we're out there, we're supposed to collect his entire porn collection. And I'm like, oh, I'm sick and tired of looking at... So that got me complaining again. I didn't want to look at Stephen Avery's porn collection anymore. I didn't want to be in Stephen Avery's residence anymore. Side conversation. I had reached the end of my rope with going through Stephen Avery's porn collection, property, residence. I'd had enough.
Why is he having to
On,
look at
Colborn.
why is he having to look at open the pages and look? Can you
Look at
just
the
collect,
porn.
just look at you can tell from the cover what it is and throw it in a box or a bag or whatever. You don't have to look through every page.
But does anyone really believe that
No.
these officers went in there specifically to collect Stephen Avery's porn collection?
No,
Try and associate it to Teresa Hallbach being missing.
not specifically. No, I think that
No.
was a kind of a side
That's
afterthought.
a ruse. That's a ruse. That's
Yeah.
another excuse to go back into Stephen Avery's trailer, surely.
Well,
Yeah.
and remember what Fassbender said. I think it was maybe Cam episode 7. I sent those guys back in there to do one more overall search, and then it wasn't 5 minutes later. Colborn said it was a specific search, or Link. I don't remember one of them. Right? It was a specific search.
Yeah, this is
Well-
where Ken Kraft says it's a thorough search.
Yeah, he's not saying it's a specific one, but he's saying, oh, and while we're out there,
Yeah.
we're supposed to get the porn.
Right.
So, whatever.
This is
It's
the
so
excuse to
ridiculous.
find the key, I reckon.
It's so ridiculous. I'd had enough with his porn.
Right.
Give me a break. Oh, I can't say it got exotic and crazy, but I recall it just bothers me to this day that every picture and photograph of a pornographic nature that Stephen Avery possessed, there was a look of fear, or in some cases, absolute terror on the face of the woman depicted in the picture.
God.
He had
He's talking. He's talking like that. Stephen took the photographs in these magazines.
No, he's talking about Lori's pictures.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, all right.
But Lori's children took these pictures. Maybe
Right.
that's why she had a look of horror on her face.
I would imagine.
He had collected porn pictures. Sorry, Alice, go ahead.
No, sorry, Susan. I was just going to say it's ridiculous. This is absolutely fucking ridiculous. If there was that much, if the porn was that bad, they would have used it in court. Look at what he looks at. This is what is in his head. You know what I mean?
Playboy and...
You're right. Wee magazine.
Yeah. It's fucking stupid. And
Better
this
housekeeping.
guy was a fucking police. You know what I mean?
Well, it's much ado about nothing. It's thou dost protest too much. That's what I'm reading here as well.
Sears catalog.
That's right.
Sorry. Oh, shoot. He had collected porn pictures of his first wife. And I don't know when they got divorced, but there had been a considerable time. He still had them. He still had these pornographic pictures, and she does not look happy when she's giving him these pictures. Then he just had magazines that you can buy off the rack and magazines you can order. I can't recall all the specifics of his pornographic collection other than it was extensive.
Oh, my God.
Well, there were handcuffs and leg irons. I can't specifically remember. Quite frankly, I've tried to forget about that. Anyway, we get back to the trailer, and it was Deputy Kaharski, Link, and myself. I think Link and Kaharski, I don't know who, made some comment as to, well, this is it. Once we're done today, we don't have to go back in there. So I was like, well, let's get it done and let's get out of here. We began pulling the pornographic material out of his, some people might call it a cabinet, some people might call it a bookcase. But there was a shelf in a narrow space on the top, and then on the bottom was like a larger area where you could stack taller things. I believe by the time we finally got everything that could be considered pornographic out of that cabinet, we looked around. This is a small bedroom. It's tight in there. There was barely enough room for 3 grown men to be in there. So Kaharski was sitting on the bed and logging, taking notes and logging what we were doing. We looked at this pile of pornography that we had, and Link said, we don't have a container in the room that we can put all these in. We're not going to fit it in a bag. We couldn't put all our supplies and us in the bedroom at the same time. We didn't have a garbage bag in there. We had a brown paper shopping bag. What's the difference? I suppose we could have, but it would have took up 10 to 15 bags. I don't know. 10 to 15 brown paper shopping bags. Have you
Full
guys
of porn?
seen that much porn?
No, no, not at all. It's all on a. They got it stacked on a table. It's a
4 or 5 magazines, and
well, maybe a few more than that, but it wasn't a huge amount. Not that I saw, that I can remember. Doc.
No, definitely not. Maybe you could put that collection in one brown paper bag, maybe 2 max. I think he's just exaggerating here.
10
I
to
don't know.
15.
Seemed me like there was like 10 or 12 magazines, something like that. Maybe a few
Yeah,
more.
there wasn't a huge collection, no.
No.
Yeah. There was a lot of stuff. After we had this pile of pornography amassed, we had taken the items that we knew we didn't need, and we were cramming them back into the bookcase. Not gently, I'm sad to say. And he's sad to say. He's sad to say because it brought him to the key, right?
That's right.
At this point, we didn't think highly of Stephen Avery's porn collection, so the items that we knew we weren't going to take back into evidence, we were cramming back in there. And I wasn't doing it all that gently. And I don't know if Link was doing it gently or not, but I know I wasn't. Well, you were right next to him. I mean, there wasn't even room for both of you to do that. Actually.
Nope.
There was a 3-ring binder where he had personal family pictures. There were some magazines, some books, just stuff that you would find in a bookcase. There might have even been some, I don't recall everything that was there, but we were pushing it back in there. I didn't want to leave the place, like I said, a total mess, but I didn't really care too much if I'd been a book cover. Not at this point. I thought, and I'm pretty sure that we had everything that came out of the bookcase that we weren't going to take back with us in the bookcase. Deputy Kaharski says, we need to check his desk too. He's got all those porn in the bookcase. It certainly stands to reason he may have some porn in the desk drawer. The desk and the bookcase were in very close proximity to one another. Link says, I'm going to step into the living room. I'm going to grab a box, and I'll come back and I'll start throwing all the porn into this box, okay? Okay, guys? Is that all right?
Okay. Yeah, okay, guys? Oh, boy.
I started searching the desk. Suddenly, I hear Link say, there's a key on the floor. I turned around, I looked down, and I go, where? He goes, there's a key over here by this cabinet that we just got done searching. It's by his slippers. I look, sure enough, there's a key. It has a Toyota emblem on it. It also has a rubberized end of the key, which, like I said, most of the vehicles on the Avery property were older, where you just had a metal key. This had a rubberized end on it. It was with a Toyota emblem. And there was a little blue nylon fob or strap on it in a black plastic, like half a buckle. I was like, I didn't see any Toyotas on the Avery property. Did you go out amongst all the cars, Andy? This has got to be Teresa's key because we'd not found the key for the vehicle prior to that. And we knew that when the vehicle was recovered, someone had mentioned there were no keys for it. Kaharski photographed a key where it was laying on the floor when Link said, "Hey, there's a key. I see a key on the floor."
Wow.
On the floor.
Well, I guess we probably should pause here as versus anywhere else. Oh, you done with that section? I'm sorry.
Now, let me finish just
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
little section.
Yeah.
We called the command post and said, "We found a Toyota key. There's a very good possibility that this could be Teresa Halbach's key." I believe at that time, Agent Fassbender and Wiegert came down to Stephen Avery's trailer. I know that all three of us changed gloves, but I believe only Kaharski actually physically handled the key. But we all changed gloves nonetheless. Okay.
Okay. Glad you did that now. You've mentioned it after you're done. That's good.
Oh, Jesus.
Who wants to go first? I mean, we beat the key subject to death, but again, we're still talking about from 2005 to 2018, and we've got a lot of detail here.
Anyone believe this story? Anyone?
No, I don't.
Andy's such a shitty liar, he goes, "There's a key over here by this cabinet that we just got done searching." Oh, yeah, okay. I'm sure that's exactly what he said. You're standing by the cabinet.
Right.
It's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
And for the record, it's actually an old record cabinet. That's what that cabinet is. It's meant to hold 33 or 78 records. And there's absolutely no reason for any of them to be cramming anything back in there. There was plenty of room in that cabinet, especially considering the number of magazines that they emptied out. There was plenty of room in that cabinet.
Do you think there were 10 or 15 sacks worth of could have fit in that cabinet?
No way. 10 or 15 magazines, I can believe. Actually,
right.
While we're reading here, I may try to find that photo that we've got that shows how many actual pornographic magazines that they took.
Thor's Clawhammer says, "I noticed Colborn left out how he manhandled the bookcase prior to slamming stuff back into it.
Twisting it and turning it.
Or while stuffing. Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
And none of the contents on the top of it really moved. Yeah, he did leave that out. Maybe that'll come up later."
He's actually left a lot out, mine, because what they said in the statement, which was, I think, is written by some sort of district attorney, that they said about changing the gloves and stuff, but he actually put the key in a plastic bag, because it said that he had plastic bags with him, and then they had a timeline, and they also had the flow of where it's gone from the bedroom to the crime lab, and it was all detailed stage by stage. So you haven't put that in there either. But there's one thing I got to ask you. He said there was hardly any room in that room for the two people and that babysitter. So you got to think of it this way. Teresa Halbach was in that bedroom with Stephen Avery when they stabbed her in the stomach and slit her throat and God knows what. And Brendan was in there as well. So there was 3 people in that room committing that so-called murder. and he's saying that 3 people can't fit in the room to search a cabinet.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, had it happened, they could have fit in there for that, I think.
Well, they could have, but it'd still been crowded, and I still don't see how there couldn't have been. They didn't find anything. Nothing.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the
definitely
problem.
would have been evidence left behind. Avery.
Okay. Anyone else? Comments? I can't believe it. We're gonna move past this, and anybody else got?
Okay, so. Oh, sorry.
No, I was just checking to make sure that.
Yeah, we're all good, Jack.
Okay. All right. Whenever you're ready, Susan.
So Fassbender and Wiegert came down, and we
Yep.
showed them the key. They said that key is going to have to go to Madison. Take extra precautions about packaging it. The key has to go down to Madison. We'll see if it fits the ignition of Teresa's vehicle. We didn't do another thing until they sent a different Calumet County deputy to Stephen Avery's trailer. We turned the key over to him, and I believe he's the individual that transported it down to Madison. Bottom line is, we didn't search another thing until that key was out of our custody. Then we began discussing, where did that come from? To this day, I was like, damn it, how did I miss that on an earlier search? I never done a detailed search of that bookcase, but where the F was that key? I can't for the life of me figure out how I missed that key. And we verbalized that amongst ourselves. Kaharski said, well, it could have been hidden anywhere in that bookcase, and us taking things out and pushing them back in had to have dislodged it from somewhere. Now, we did look at the back of the cabinet. It's like a thin piece of wood laminate that composes the back of that bookcase or that cabinet, and it was pushed away from the cabinet frame itself, or the bookcase frame. We all thought one of us, in the process of cramming stuff in there, had to have bashed that back away from it, and that's how it fell out. That's the only explanation. If you knew Lieutenant Link, he's a devout Catholic, and I'm a Christian myself, and we said, this is divine providence. Probably it had something to do with this because we couldn't formulate a rational explanation on how the key got to where it was, other than it had to have been somewhere between that frame and that back or on top of something, and it fell and has managed to get out through the opening that we had created. We agreed that either Teresa had a hand in that and or our creator, and that's that. Oh my God.
Wow.
That's a tree for fuck's sake right there.
So,
oh my God.
So not only did, well, actually, this happened after Pam had her divine experience on the 5th. So Andy
Yep.
has to have one here, 13 years later on the 8th.
Unreal.
Doc, are you somehow containing yourself? I don't know how you're doing it, but you're doing great.
It's actually best if I don't comment, to tell you the truth, because I am fucking fuming to believe that a seasoned law enforcement officer had to now mention divine intervention as a reasoning of how that key got dislodged from the cabinet. And keep in mind, what's even worse was that Lenk, you think about it, right? The whole purpose of Colborn shaking the cabinet was that there was a space, he said it, there was a space between the desk and the cabinet. And that small space, he was concerned that potentially forensic evidence was hidden between the space between the cabinet and the desk. That's why he had to violently shake the cabinet. Now, because they were looking for evidence, they had completely emptied the cabinet. To make matters worse, Lenk was asked, "Did you see inside the cabinet?" "Yes, sir." "Did you see a key?" "No." So somehow this key not only has it got magical powers, it can disappear and reappear on demand. So they had to think quickly, because no one was going to believe their story. And you know that Kratz blew a gasket. So what do? They had to smash the back of the cabinet to cause a hole, because that's the only way that they could possibly surmise, hell, no one's going to believe this shit, right? But there are other problems. Colborn then writes the letter to the DA saying, no. The key wasn't in the cabinet. It was behind the cabinet.
Wasn't sitting next to the slippers.
Right, which means he now debunked himself. And furthermore, how did the slippers get flipped from being next to the cabinet to being flipped and moved away from the cabinet, and all of a sudden the key magically appears between the slippers? So not only did he shake the cabinet violently, he must have done so that the slippers actually slipped, moved away, and the key went around the corner, fell down. No one heard it, including Kaczarski, who was sitting on the bed. And of course, that's why Cam never put this part in with Colborn talking about divine intervention.
Oh, God,
because
yeah.
If you had an iPad, you would have smashed it then and there.
And furthermore, Doc, okay, these three guys are in there. They look at this. They see the back has come apart from, which in their mind, as they're saying, it explains it to them. Do they photograph that? No.
They get the cabinet they go get the cabinet many days later.
About a month later.
I think in December.
You showed that picture. Correct.
Sometime.
You showed that picture. I have a feeling that Kratz got them all, grabbed their ears, and said, "You better fucking come up with a good story here, boys, or we're going to get roasted." That's exact. Look at the way Ken Kratz went ballistic, because he knew that no one was going to believe it. But my final point is this, and Duke made this comment ages ago. Notice they find the key, they all leapt in the air. This has got to be Teresa's key. What happened? What happened on the same day when they found the cremains? Did Fassbender and Wiggett go check out the cremains?
Nope.
Nobody did. So for a key, everyone came running. They changed gloves. They wrote an extensive report. They
brought an extra detective in or whoever to come and collect it.
Yep. They find bones in a burn pit, 20 yards from Stephen Avery's back door? No one came.
Shovel them out of it.
Yep. No photos. Yet, what did they immediately do? They took a photograph of the key in situ. You try and find one picture of a bone in situ on November the 8th. Guys, you know that something is not right. This narrative is rotten to the core. I'm sorry, but it is.
Link is a devout Catholic, and I really think he teared up here. Tried to. He pauses after that.
I think so.
I'm a Christian myself.
Correct.
God.
Is that why he says what the F and the whatever sentence before?
Well, and the zipper issues.
What the F, and I'm a devout Christian.
Yep.
Oh my. This is probably the one sentence that Brenda didn't want us to see.
I imagine so.
It's pretty embarrassing.
Oh God, it is.
But this is a murder investigation, right? And someone made the comment, the Keystone Cops. That is exactly what has transpired here. They had to come up with excuse after excuse, including having a babysitter who clearly was meant to have found the key, but obviously never heard it, never saw it. This whole narrative is a worry. And if you notice, who is the one constant person who is embellishing story after story? And that is
Andy.
Colborn.
Andrew Colborn, the
Yep.
star of the
Yep.
show, Andrew Colborn.
It's like his story about, the 94, 95 call. It's what it reminds me of. I made a flippant comment. He's just got the dumbest, comes up with the dumbest ideas or excuses.
And over explains everything.
Uh-huh. No kidding. Jack, I'm going to let somebody else take over.
Okay. Doc, you feel like reading for a bit?
Yes, I can. So what a sec. Oh, have we read the part yes after locating the key?
That's where I stopped.
That's where she
Okay,
stopped.
so I start there. Yes after locating the key.
Yep.
Okay, awesome. Would you like me to start now?
Anytime you're ready, Doc.
Okay. Yes. After locating the key, I believe I only worked out at the Avery salvage yard. I think I only performed duties out there one more day, and I can't recall discovering anything of super significance during my last day out there. That doesn't mean that the case was over. The case continued to be investigated by Department of Justice and by Calumet County, but gradually they needed less and less resources. Finally, they ended up pulling out of the Avery salvage yard, although I believe there was a subsequent search warrant for the garage where they discovered expended bullets. But I was not involved in any of that search. I know our detective bureau was, but I was not. Stephen Avery was ultimately arrested and he was incarcerated prior to trial at the Calumet County Jail. Again, I was not involved in this, and I don't believe our department was involved in this at all. But ultimately, they developed another suspect, Brendan Dassey, which would be, I believe, Stephen Avery's nephew. He ultimately confessed to being involved in the murder of Teresa Horbach, along with the primary player, which was Stephen Avery. As
Wow.
the trial, sorry,
No, go ahead.
shall I continue reading?
Yep.
Okay. As the trial got closer, I began to receive subpoenas for the different phases of the trial before it actually got to the jury trial. At one of those court hearings, I was made aware that Stephen Avery's defense attorneys were going to use the defense that the police, specifically myself and Lieutenant Link, had planted evidence and had committed a burglary, had planted blood in Teresa Horbach's vehicle, and that Stephen Avery had no involvement in this crime, that the police had been the perpetrators of this crime. Although they were met with the challenge of, quote, well, if Stephen Avery didn't kill her, who did? Are you saying that the police killed her? End quote. I can't remember if they ever specifically accused me of murder, but certainly they accused me of committing numerous felonies.
Well,
You would think that would be something he would remember. He'd been accused of murder.
Oh, yeah.
And there are some out there that do believe that law enforcement was or potentially involved. I'm not one of those. I just certainly think that they used what they could get their hands on and helped the case and presented it to the prosecutors. That's what I believe. Anyway.
Continue.
Well, if there's no comments or questions, yep.
He's going to start crying about the press and how the press treated him.
Oh boy.
Initially, when I first heard it, I thought to myself, this is all they got? Because there is no flipping way that this is going to work. I personally thought that the judge was not going to allow them to proceed with that line of defense. However, I quickly realized that not only was a judge going to allow them to proceed with that defense, the press was going to do everything they could to assist the defense in using law enforcement as the individuals who had either committed this crime or certainly covered it up. Again, I was shocked that even the local press, our hometown newspaper, would not come to our defense. They instead seemed to not only encourage the defense team, they seemed to purport that whatever the defense team said was the truth. Then our sheriff made a bad decision. He decided to give an interview and made a comment that only made our department look worse. At that time, I believe the judge said, quote, "Okay, the prosecution and law enforcement are not to discuss the case any further," end quote. They called in that slang term called the gag order. Well, then the press just had a field day because we weren't able to defend ourselves.
Well, that's not true. That's not true at all. And this is no stab at anyone in the Halbach family. They put Mike Halbach as their spokesman.
Yep, correct.
So it didn't stop. It didn't stop. He just reported what they want, or he gave the news what they wanted to hear from law enforcement. We just love law enforcement,
But if Andy had this idea about the press, I'm sure they all did. It kind of explains Brendan even more, doesn't it? You gotta turn this thing around.
Why is he acting like he's unsure that Brendan is the nephew? That was weird.
Yeah, that is weird. He knows.
Yeah.
What is the comment that the sheriff made to the press?
It'd be easier to kill.
Easier to kill him?
Oh, that comment. Okay.
Yeah. Gave that to a news reporter on air. Yeah, it's like, well, it'd just be easier to kill him.
Okay.
You can't make this shit up, I tell you.
I wasn't sure what he was talking about. All right.
Well, it's surprising that he didn't say what that comment was, but that was again left out.
Yeah, they couldn't. They basically couldn't help themselves. That's the problem.
No.
Would you like me to continue?
Yep, please continue.
Now, I don't personally remember the judge ever telling our agency that you can't defend your officers. They just said you can't discuss the case. But our agency chose to now remain totally mute, so they had a field day. The press was able to twist it in a manner that if they don't have some culpability, they aren't defending themselves. At that point, now I have people within my circle of friends, and even not my family, but people within my very small circle of friends that are asking me, quote, "If you didn't do this, why don't you say something?" End quote. They just couldn't wrap their heads around what a gag order is. I said, quote, "Anything that I say now could be detrimental because I'm going to, at some point, have to testify. If what I say on the stand doesn't match what I said to the press, that could be like, okay, now what is the truth?" Yeah. He said it. Fucking hell, he said it.
Why would it match, Andy?
Let me say, sorry, guys. Okay, now what is the truth? What you told the press or what you're testifying to? It was a very difficult period.
I bet it was.
I personally, to this day, can't believe what they were allowed to do that, but they were. I think what really bothers me is they knew their client did it. They just sat there and they came up with lie after lie after lie when they knew that the guy sitting there next to them that they defended was guilty and guilty as sin.
Wow.
Jesus.
Thinking about now, what little was said, and then what they testified to, and then what was said after Making a Murder got released, and now even more statements have come out that don't match. They don't. And now we have divine intervention here.
Yeah,
A few sections ago, divine intervention.
correct. Would you like me to continue, Jack 61?
Well, I'm still looking for. Do we know what the truth is?
Yeah, we need to put
The
that on
truth-
a t-shirt. We need to put that on a t-shirt.
And a coffee mug. There's
Oh,
no
yeah.
doubt. Why would he say that? I mean, it can only be one story if it's the truth. Now, if
Right.
you start massaging it, you got a problem.
Anything I say could be detrimental
Right.
Correct.
because I'm going to lie. Oh,
Yeah.
shoot.
Continue on, Doc, whenever you're ready.
Okay. I didn't know what they were talking about on a burglary. I found out that apparently in the 1985 case, a vial of Mr. Avery's blood was stored in the evidence holding area at our courthouse, not in our evidence room, at the courthouse. And somehow the Avery defense team felt that Lieutenant Lenk or myself or both of us working in collusion with one another had gotten that vial of evidence and put Stephen Avery's blood inside Teresa Horbach's vehicle, where blood had been found on the dashboard near what was maybe unbeknownst to them, or they thought that it couldn't be proven, is that there was a preservative in that blood. And there was a test done by the FBI which proved that the blood discovered in Teresa Horbach's vehicle was absent any preservative. Clearly, the blood from the vial isn't the blood that was in the vehicle.
Wow.
Wasn't proven to me.
Nope. It was
FBI test.
It was proven to me that it didn't hit the detection level, but that's all it proved to me.
Yeah.
All right. Shall I continue, Jack 61?
Yep. Continue on.
Awesome. Then the key. They never articulated to the court, even though this was their defense that we planted evidence, they never articulated to the court how we would have had come to possess Teresa Horbach's key. But they insisted that key was planted. Even though Teresa Horbach's dismembered and burnt up body was found on Stephen Avery's property, even though Stephen Avery's blood, minus any sort of preservative, was located in Teresa Horbach's vehicle, even though Teresa Horbach's ignition key for her vehicle was discovered in Stephen Avery's bedroom with Stephen's DNA on it, Stephen Avery's DNA on it, had to have been law enforcement. I know, you can't make this up. That was the next thing. When it finally came to trial, the prosecutor, during the course of direct examination, asked me if I'd planted evidence. I said no. And then at that, I acted as professionally as I possibly could during the entire course of this investigation, and that I have never had my integrity professionally questioned prior or after this case. I offered any sort of written documentation as far as personal records. I made my personal file accessible to the defense, as well as the numerous media outlets that wanted to get in there. I said that they could have my Department of Defense records. They could review my conduct when I was in the United States military. And feel free to contact any of my prior employers and find out if I was a problem employee.
Well, I guess that, not knowing at this time, this is early 2018. Not exactly sure when the affair happened, but okay, I'm just throwing that out there.
Mhm.
Continue. Yep, continue on.
She has a
Okay.
great question. Or he.
Okay.
What the fuck is this guy smoking?
Is she talking about me or Colborn?
About Colborn.
Okay. I remember at one point, they actually sent a Calumet County investigator to the Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department, where he said that he would need to collect my fingerprints because they were going to, I believe, fingerprint Teresa Horbach's vehicle. And they were wondering if they were going to discover mine or Lieutenant Link's. Both Lieutenant Link and I provided a set of our fingerprints. And then that same investigator came back just shortly before trial and told me that I needed to account for every minute that I could think of what I did on Friday, November the 4th, 2005. The reason for that, I discovered later during the trial, is that the defense felt that when I called in that license plate to the dispatcher on my cell phone, the reason I was calling it in is I had Teresa Horbach's vehicle stopped. Somewhat regrettably, I didn't provide the Calumet County investigator with that information because I didn't want him questioning members of my family. Specifically, I didn't want him talking to my mother-in-law because any time that my mother-in-law would have told him that I was at the residence, the defense would have managed to twist that, certainly to say, oh, she's lying for him. And now we're going to subpoena her. And I wasn't going to put my family through that.
Oh, well, so you're going to, as a police officer with great integrity, you're going to withhold.
The big
Okay.
explanation why he couldn't remember what he did Friday. Yeah, he goes on.
But remember, in 1985, all 16 alibi witnesses, they are lying because they're family.
Yep, but all of them weren't. There was people, just
Correct.
regular people. They're just pouring concrete.
Correct. And Colborn gave that excuse that they didn't want him questioning his mother-in-law.
Yep.
Where did they find the Calumet County investigator?
Was that Deidre who went to see Colborn?
I don't remember. I think it maybe was Deidre. I can't remember for sure.
Yeah, someone went to speak to them. Yep, they had to account. And they basically said, oh, yeah, we believe you. See you later. And that was the end of the story.
Yep.
Okay. Shall I continue? I'll do one more page.
Yep.
Awesome. Yes, not worse, but in addition to having spent time at my mother-in-law's home on Friday, the 4th, I had for sure taken my son to school and probably picked him up from school. I knew that. Now, you're dragging my youngest child into this. I'm not going to allow it to happen. If I get charged with contempt of court, then I will go to jail and I'll sit there until I perish. You're not going to have access to my child. It's not going to happen. I'm not going to allow it. I wouldn't allow it now, and I wouldn't allow it then. My children are all adults now. It's not going to happen, okay? I did nothing wrong. I did what I was asked to, and that was to help investigate a crime. I didn't plant evidence. I didn't commit any crimes. I'm not asking for any sort of acknowledgement in my involvement in this. All I'm asking for is leave my family alone, and I will testify as to the truth.
Well, if you can't corroborate your alibi with one or more, if you're around these people, then we got a problem. I get what he's saying about protecting your family.
So basically, he's setting the ground rules.
Yep, it's different for him.
Yep, it's different for him.
Yep, he wasn't too worried about protecting his family later on.
No.
No.
Ultimately, I did have to, or I did in a generic fashion, testify as to what I'd done on February the 4th. February the 4th, one of the defense attorneys that cross-examined me brought up the fact that, quote, weren't you asked to provide this information to the investigator from Calumet County? I said, yes, I was, but I didn't. Ultimately, it didn't play a role. I, of course, would feel guilty for the rest of my life if, for some reason, Stephen Avery had been found not guilty because I didn't provide what I did on February the 4th. I wouldn't be able to live with myself if that had happened, but I wouldn't have been able to live with myself if my children had been dragged into this. Children who had no idea of what terrible things this guy had done. Ultimately, I did testify. The police did it. Defense didn't work, and Stephen Avery was convicted and found guilty by a jury of his peers, and to this day sits in prison.
Made a mistake up there. He said February 4th, supposed to be November 4th.
Yep.
I'm surprised that wasn't caught, but
correct.
Okay.
All right. The story, unfortunately, was not over. I thought it was, but it wasn't. Interestingly, after the guilty verdict came out, I was inundated with requests by the media for an interview who said, quote, well, we knew you didn't do it at all the time. Really? Then you should have spoken up. I have never spoken about this case with the media, and truthfully, that forever severed my relationship with the media forever. It was damaged irreparably. Anyone who is in law enforcement knows that newspapers and television, they get a lot of their stories from the police. Something happens. They want to interview the police officer as to what happened. Quote, what did you do? Is it solved? Is it not? I never gave a press release the entire time I would remain in law enforcement. Never. I refused to talk to them. I did tell our local newspaper one time that I said, quote, you print a front page apology to me and my family for what you said, and I'll give you your press release. Close quote. They declined to print said apology. Had I been elected sheriff, I don't think that would have went over so well, but I would have had somebody else be my press liaison because I couldn't do it.
So instead, he gets involved in convicting a murder, which again is media. I don't give a damn how you slice it. It may not be a newspaper. It may not be a TV drama show. Well, it kind of is, but.
And filed a lawsuit.
And filed a massive lawsuit.
Correct.
But was asking basically $10 million per episode from making a murder.
Yep.
Go ahead, Doc.
But notice what Andy said. How ironical. He wanted an apology.
Yep.
Who never got an apology for sitting in prison for 12 extra years?
Stephen.
Yep.
Nothing. Nope.
Yep. And so notice the irony. Stephen filed a civil lawsuit. What did Andy do against Netflix?
All the lawsuit.
A lawsuit. Exactly the same thing.
Yep.
Incredible, isn't it? You
Well,
couldn't even write this up. Okay, the final bit for me.
Yep.
The fallout regarding my family, much as it pains me to say, in all honesty, I think one of the attorneys of Avery's defense team didn't specifically, I don't think he cared, but he didn't specifically set out to not only hurt me, but also my family, or to force my family into this mess. One of his attorneys, the other one, I think not only was happy it happened, I think he reveled in it. That would be Attorney Jerome Buting.
What? What did
What the
Buting?
hell?
What did Buting say?
I don't know, but he hates Buting.
I'm trying to remember something specific that he went after Colborn's family. I'm not remembering. Maybe he did not.
Well, Buting wrote books, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he wrote the book, but I'm trying to think if he really went after Colborn's family in that book, and I don't remember him doing that.
Evidently, he said something.
Apparently.
Yeah. Get somebody else to read now?
Yep, absolutely. Okay.
Awesome.
Let's look at let's check the chat here real quick. Alice, do we have anything? I've seen that there's been some conversation. I see Scooby the dog is here. Hey, Scooby. But I haven't really seen too many questions. I haven't seen any questions. Seen some quotes and stuff.
No real questions, Jack. Just people chatting in chat.
Right,
yeah.
right. Alrighty. Let's see here. Alice, do you want to read a couple pages?
Yeah, I could read some.
Okay. You're reading off my screen?
Yeah, I'm reading off the screen now.
I'm just going to leave it there till I have to scroll down, if that's okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, because I'm in law enforcement, I don't have any sort of social media account. I'm not on Facebook. I'm not on Twitter. I don't do any social media. It's just not a good mix with law enforcement, in my opinion. That doesn't mean I don't have access to social media or have people that inform me of what's going on in social media. Shortly after I retired, Attorney Jerome Buting, who should be well aware of what slander and defamation is, found out through an unscrupulous reporter who has gone out of his way to make life miserable for me, partially on my own doing, that I was retiring from law enforcement. What does he post on social media? He says, quote, "Well, now that Colborn's retired, I hope he continues to get his daily ration of," unquote. And then there was the Planters logo underneath that, with a picture of myself and Lieutenant Link with our hands raised as we were being sworn in to testify, but make it look like we were giving each other a high five, like we got away with it. That leads me to believe that now, even though he knows in his heart that Avery did this and Brendan Dassey was involved in this, he is going out of his way to make my life miserable or inflame the people who already have an axe to grind or a bone to pick with law enforcement. He's done a podcast where he's talking to law students, and somebody asked him during his podcast if he, not by name, but quote, "What about these law enforcement officers that are so deeply involved in this making a murder thing," unquote. His response is, quote, "Yes, when you have a crooked cop, you don't promote him to detective lieutenant, but put him in charge of the evidence room," unquote. Guess who just got recently promoted to detective lieutenant and runs the evidence room? Me. How that guy manages to maintain a law license because he is defaming and damaging my reputation. Every time he does that, unscathing and making money, hand over fist, at the cost of re-victimizing the Hallback family, every time he says something like that. The other attorney, I will admit, while I personally would not ever speak to him other than to voice my opinion of him, I don't think he is that over the top. I think he knows his client is guilty. He doesn't maintain his facade of innocence. Oh my God, man.
Don't you love how he threw the hall box in there? Jesus.
Yeah,
They
he's
always do that.
he's saying that Buting is talking about Colborn, but somehow that re-victimizes the Hallbach family. What?
Right.
How's that work?
You gotta
He's
throw the hall
solidly
box
in
in
the
there.
victim role, isn't he? He's
Oh my God.
Yes. Well, and he had to throw in the defaming
Unbelievable.
and defamation stuff.
Yeah,
Why didn't
he's
he
a lawyer, so he
sue,
should know better.
Why didn't he sue Jerry Buting?
Well, remember the letters? There was
Oh,
conversation about. Remember?
he did want to, didn't he?
Yes,
Mhm.
that's right. And String.
That's right. Yeah. Uh-huh.
so
He
he's
was
saying
advised
String
against that.
thought he's
What's
saying
that,
that
Kay?
String thought Stephen guilty.
Yeah, because
yeah.
Strang
Oh yeah, they both
is
did.
the out there. Yeah, because Strang is the out there, you know, doing tours and writing books and everything like that, saying Stephen's innocent and that. Because he's no doing all that kind of stuff that Jerry's doing, then Colborn thinks he's guilty.
Yeah, but
Hey,
actually,
Strang was
Strang's
on
mind freed
tour
up.
with Jerry. Yeah,
That's right. He just didn't
they
write a
were
book.
together.
He did everything
Yeah.
but write a book.
hmm
I mean, he doesn't have a Twitter account or a Facebook account, but you know, it's not for everybody. Not everybody wants to do that. Get involved in social media, and that's fine.
He's got friends that keep him informed.
I'm sure. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, he's probably
all
a
right.
lot more productive in his job than not having social media.
Probably. Okay, Alice, continue on. Finish this
Okay.
page.
I have never heard them openly come out and say, yes, our client was guilty, but we let's say that again. Yes, our client was guilty, but we went this defense, unquote. No, I haven't heard anything that they have said other than I believe that Jerome Buting's only defense when he gets backed into a corner is, quote, the police did it. I'll figure out a way that the police did it, unquote. I'm sure he knows all he has to do is convince one or two people on a jury that, quote, yes, maybe I do doubt what happened, unquote. And he's accomplished that. That's truly unfortunate. It's truly unfortunate because I didn't, where it just me, I guess, I could, while I don't care about it or while I don't care for it, I could live with it. But he's damaging the reputation of my entire agency. Did I get along with everybody that was in the administration section of my agency? No, I didn't. But I was and am proud to have served with the Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department, and it hurts inside when they just turn it into like a laughing stock.
Okay, I'm going to leave that alone.
Well, it's interesting that he didn't get along with everybody.
Well, it is interesting.
I do think he was a patsy that was used.
Yep, a couple of times.
He certainly was not a mastermind planter.
No.
He didn't come up with anything.
No.
He was used to. Yeah.
Yeah, and we don't know what other cases that there could have been. We just don't know because we've never looked.
He was easy to control.
Yeah.
A few readings prior, when he said that they thought he had Teresa Hallbach's vehicle stopped, like he initiated a traffic stop on it. Did anyone ever think that? I don't think that's what people were thinking.
I
Oh yeah, a lot of people thought that.
Yeah.
Oh, they
that was
thought he initiated a traffic stop on it? I thought,
Or
I
was actually looking at her vehicle.
Actually, yeah, but he just found it hidden, stashed somewhere, and he's standing there reading the tag. Not that he had initiated a traffic stop on the vehicle like he made it sound
Right.
like just now.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That just read really weird. Maybe people did think that.
Not
yeah.
me.
I don't. Yeah, I do remember. People thought that he'd found the vehicle, whatever, parked somewhere, and called in the plates, standing behind it. That was, and it still is today. To some people, do believe that. So
I think it's interesting though that he said that instead of what is most obvious, that like what she said, that he found it and was just calling in the plates because to make sure it was the right car. I think that's what most people believe he was doing, and I don't like that he used that really strange. Well, they think I was doing this. I wasn't. Well, no shit. I don't think anybody said you were or thought that you were, really. At least not the defense. I don't think that's what they were trying to say, that he made a traffic stop.
Yeah, he didn't want to highlight what people really thought he did.
Right, because then he'd be lying, because he's telling the truth. If he says, no, I didn't pull her over. It wasn't a traffic stop. He's not lying, technically.
Well, and getting to this call that he made at 9:22, I was thinking about this earlier today. I'd actually forgotten, but we've got the radio traffic. If anybody wants to listen to it, on November 5th, when they seized the Avery property, they had 3 or 4 vehicles there. The people that were there, getting parts, and all that stuff went out over the air. All of it. License plate, names, everything. That went out over the air. And that was at, I don't know, midday, whatever. And all those people had to be checked before they were allowed to leave. And I think one of them was one that had the body warrant. I think that's right. But regardless of the fact, they checked them all. And all that stuff was discussed on the radio. So, anyway, okay. Alice, you want to read one more page?
Yep, sure.
Okay, continue on.
Yes, they certainly, early in my career, I can remember talking to my colleagues and saying sometimes, quote, wow, I can't believe they're paying us to do this, unquote. That's how fun it was. Then after this, I found myself being far more cynical about the world and the appreciation of. And don't get me wrong, when I announced my retirement, I received calls from tens, if not hundreds of people who thanked me or told me that I'd helped them through a difficult time, or they were glad that I did this or glad that I did that. And numerous people have apologized to me for not coming forward, but basically their attitude was, quote, we saw what you were doing, we saw what you were going through, and I'm not going to put myself through that by publicly supporting you. But we want you to know that people do support you and don't believe any of that, unquote. When all you see is negativity day after day after day after day, and anyone who thinks positively about you is afraid to say anything, you begin to think that the entire community feels that you have done something nefarious when in fact you didn't.
I'm just trying to remember. I'm just trying to remember these negative newspaper articles, and I just don't remember coming across very many. I mean, I know Frack wrote some stuff that was probably offensive to them. But
I was thinking that local paper was, always, or not always maybe, but pretty much always pro law enforcement.
Sure.
at least in this case, and they still are today.
Well, that's where they get a lot of their stuff that they print and put on air. So that good relationship, they know that there's a fine line there. So
yeah.
Okay, Alice, go ahead.
You mean as in the civilian populace? I did have numerous law enforcement officers, both within my own agency and in agencies outside my own, that, yes, did support me 100%. Yes. People don't believe. People talk about, quote, well, there's a blue wall and they protect each other, unquote. The reality is, in most law enforcement agencies, they eat each other. If you're a screw up, you're going to be ferreted out. If you commit a crime, very seldom is that going to be covered up. Oh, why laugh at that? You know what I mean?
Right?
Yeah, that's a weird place to laugh.
It is.
Yeah,
Very
exactly.
seldom. But sometimes.
If a crime is committed, very seldom. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're going to be rooted out. You're going to be held responsible. You'll be ousted. You will. You'll be ousted because there's not too many municipalities that can afford a lawsuit. If that was the only reason. Yeah. And that was a big word for me, municipalities. That was a big word for me to say.
No, I mean a lawsuit that can afford a lawsuit.
Yeah. If that was the only... If that was the only reason, but the other reason is you have got to, in law enforcement, have the confidence of the people you're serving. And that seems to be the media's constant nerve-ending campaign to undermine the confidence of the private sector in their public officials. I don't understand it or why they do that, but they have got a lot of people now that normally would come to the police with information that are scared to work with the police. Quote, well, I heard you're all corrupt. Really? Where did you hear that from? Unquote. Well, the media says it every day, quote unquote. Every day you can watch TV and they'll find a bad example of something law enforcement did or something law enforcement didn't do properly. Yes, we're human and we make mistakes. Absolutely. But I got into law enforcement and in the military. I'm prepared and was prepared then to lay down my life to defend the people in my community or my country. I found out about making a murderer from one of our assistant district attorneys. I was over at the courthouse for some court appearance and he said, quote, hey, can I talk to you for a minute, unquote. In the hallway of the courthouse, he told me that this documentary was coming out. He said, quote, it's not going to be complimentary towards law enforcement, unquote. So this is what I'm hearing. He goes, quote, I think it'll be a flash in the pan, like it'll come out for a while. People will be all enraged and then common sense will assert itself and it will be done, unquote. I was like, oh, okay, yes, thanks for the heads up.
I wonder where that comment came from.
Oh my
I remember
God.
hearing this in Cam, and I'm just wondering where that came from and how whoever this was
I think
could have
maybe
heard
it was Greasebuck, one of our assistant DAs.
Yeah,
Was he
could be.
assistant DA then?
Yeah, yep, he was.
Flash
I'm
in the
just wondering.
pan.
Yep, flash
Yeah.
pan, no big deal.
Right.
But did you notice?
Understatement of the century.
That's the T-shirt. Flash in the pan.
What's that, Doc?
I was going to say, did you notice how he talked about how much a civil lawsuit would hurt a police department or a law enforcement department? Yet in Kratz's book and also on Cam, what does he say? Oh, he
Insurance
deserved
will
the
cover
money.
it.
It's not
Yeah.
coming out of my pocket. He deserved the money. And yet now he says the absolute opposite because he knows that a civil lawsuit is going to bite.
Oh, big time.
Yep.
Duh.
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree.
Cam just explained it away as insurance would have covered it. Period.
I'm sorry. I don't agree.
I don't either.
No. Okay. All right. Any other comments? Thank you, Alice. We'll move on and get somebody else to read a little bit if they'd like. Kay, you feel like reading any tonight?
Sure, I can read.
You read a page or two? Okay. Yeah.
Sure. Are we at the top right there?
Top of the page.
Not only was it uncomplimentary toward law enforcement, it was just absolutely false and fraudulent. It was like a perfect storm. They couldn't have released it at a better time because law enforcement popularity, or the way people perceive law enforcement at that time, was at an all-time low. It came out right before Christmas of 2015 and carried all the way through 2016, when daily you heard about all the terrible things that law enforcement was doing and how they're corrupt. Making a murderer was like, hey, the bad things that law enforcement are doing aren't just limited to the big cities. Look at this little small rural community here. Look at the Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department. How terrible they are. They sent this guy to prison, this innocent guy to prison once, and now they're doing it again. Look at this.
God.
Dang, he's drama.
Mm-hmm.
In order to fit their agenda, I myself did not watch one single second of Making a Murderer. Well, I thought he watched 15 minutes or something.
Well, that was later.
How does that make sense? In order to fit their agenda?
It doesn't.
Yeah.
Okay.
God, he's just crafty here. He should be a prosecutor with all his crafting of fiction here.
Yep.
In order to fit their agenda, I myself did not watch one single second of Making a Murderer, but I remember on Christmas Eve. So a lot of my children don't. Some are in the military and they don't all live in Wisconsin. That particular Christmas, I had all my children home. I know nothing about Making a Murderer. Telephone rings at my house, and I believe my wife answered the phone. They must have asked for me or something, so she hands me the phone, and this guy gets on there, and he's screaming profanities, and he's saying, I hope that I'm ruining your Christmas, and I tell you what. And the quote, he goes, why don't you just sit on your couch in front of your children, put a gun in your mouth, and pull the fucking trigger? I probably wasn't the most polite or professional with this individual, in which time he says, I tell you what, I'll come over to your house and I'll do it for you right in front of your kids. How's that sound? Wow.
That's terrible.
That's horrible.
Yep.
Unwisely, I invited him to do that, but common sense averted and he wouldn't get off the phone. I'd hang up the phone. He'd call back. Hang up the phone. He'd call back. Finally, I just took the phone. I put it on one of our dining room chairs and I put a pillow over it. So I was running up his phone bill. I got the number off the caller ID. I have investigative means to myself where I can track a phone number to see who it's assigned to. Got to the name of the person who was calling me. Shockingly, he's a convicted felon. He resides in a different state. He wasn't in Wisconsin, so I contacted the law enforcement jurisdiction in that state where he would be under their jurisdiction. And I asked them just to check and see if he was at least at his residence, because I didn't know at that time. Excuse me. Was he in Wisconsin? Just because he lives in another state, maybe he came up here. Other wackos ended up coming up here. Ultimately, he, I believe, is the same one who made numerous threats to our district attorney, who, by the way, in 1985, when Stephen Avery went through his first case, yes, she was in middle school. What?
Yeah.
What the hell?
What the,
I-
okay. Still, these people claim that she's also tied into this. The district attorney's office, our agency, we're apparently all in it together. This continued throughout 2016 and continues to this day. Even as we speak right now, there's some other group of people who are convinced that Stephen Avery is innocent, have applied for a permit to protest in the Manitowoc County Courthouse parking lot in June of 2018.
Well, I was going to
So
say something. I was going to say something. Let me look back here.
Sorry, not sorry. I was there.
Attorney's office print. We're all in together. Oh, he
What's
may
the
bring it up.
female?
I'm sorry.
What's the female thing he was talking about?
I think that something got screwed up there. I think the transcript is wrong. I'm not really sure.
It seems like what he's trying to say is that their DA currently, the current DA at that time, was getting harassed, and that she was just a kid in middle school at the time of his 85 case. So she's definitely not involved, but they think everybody's all involved together.
Right.
Oh,
and notice also here that Colborn still hasn't mentioned starting, and he may later. I don't recall in the pages we got left if he mentions anything about starting to write to lawyers around the 10th or 12th of January 2016, within a couple of weeks of Making a Murder airing. He starts writing lawyers to get someone to sue Netflix and the filmmakers. Not one word has been.
I don't recall him mentioning his lawsuit at all.
Yeah. I don't think he did. Okay. If you want, you can read another page.
Okay. Yes, I received death threats. I had one individual inform me that after he kills me, he was going to gang rape my wife. I had another individual call me 17 times at work in one day, screaming profanities, how he was going to plan a bomb at the sheriff's office, how he knew exactly where I live. He rattled off my address, said that one of these days you're going to get up, go for work. I'll be on your rooftop. I'll take you out. I'll get your family. I'll get your kids. Had another individual who told me that he was so violent that he was kicked out of the Israeli army for being too violent, and that he had been hired by someone else to track me down. Said that he was well aware of what vehicles I drove, where I live. My wife and I had to I first had to protect my children. So, with the exception of one child who got every one of our children, we got every one of our children out of the state. The one child that remains in Wisconsin does not have my last name, so that child is safe. All the rest of the children, we got out of the state of Wisconsin. Around this time, while I'm busily trying to get my children out of the state of Wisconsin into the safety, someone that keeps me informed about what's been happening in the social media world was kind enough to send me a picture of Jerome Buting beaming with his arm around his son, talking about attending his son's graduation from college, while my son had to remove himself from this college he was attending and enroll in a college at another state. After we took steps to protect our children, my wife and I had to devise a plan on what would happen when one of these people showed up at our house. I said, despite the fact that you have certain challenges about yourself, you're going to have to learn how to fire a firearm, because I don't know what else to do to protect you. I can't be here with you 100% of the time. We devised a plan. We devised a code that if I am trying to get into the house, we have a code that we worked out so that my wife knows that it's me. I said, if the door breaks open, you are to run up, hide in the bathtub in our upstairs master bedroom. They will have to break down 3 doors to get to you. When they break down the 3rd door, begin firing and don't stop until the weapon is out of ammunition. I don't know what else to do. I didn't know what else to do. To this day, that is our plan. Well, now everyone knows your plan.
Yep.
These threats continue to this day. Not as bad. They've abated somewhat, but definitely 2016 was a challenge.
Yeah, I bet it was. And no one here has agreed with any of that happening to Colborn or anyone else in law enforcement or anywhere else for that matter. So
Not at all.
Nope. All right. Thank you so much, Kay. And Allie, you feel like reading a couple of pages, and I can take the last 2, and that'll take us out.
Sure.
Okay. Whenever you're ready.
Now, after the release of Making a Murderer, I had people who I've known since I've moved. I didn't grow up in Manitowoc County. I moved there after I married my wife. I have people that I have known since I've lived in Manitowoc County, which is 1991. Now, like, how do you explain this? Why did you run that license plate? They're saying you ran the license plate because you had her stopped. Did you have her stopped? No, who says that? Even they're doubting it. I tried to explain to the best of my ability. Then now we have an attorney decide that she's going to represent Stephen Avery. And of course, I'm sure she sees that if she can then sue civilly and she'll make a lot of money. Again, the fact that she's re-victimizing the Halbach family, who, as bad and as difficult as the time has been for me, I can't imagine what that family is going through. Every time that it seems that they can finally start to live with the fact that these 2 people sexually assaulted and murdered their daughter, now along comes these irresponsible film producers, and they make this movie that they call a documentary, totally re-victimizing that family. I try and put myself
What did you just do with Cam?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, and Fassbender, the one that uses it the most, is in cam. Like, are you
Yeah.
kidding me?
Well, besides Schimmel, of course he wasn't in the documentary, but Schimmel used it every press conference, every
ad
time.
nauseam.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead, Allie.
All right. I try to put myself in that situation. If that was my child, I don't think I could handle that situation with the dignity that the Halbach family has displayed through this. I don't know how they do it. I don't know them. I've never had a conversation with them. But the fact that they've put up with this for so long, put up with this for this long, is the reason that I'm doing this. Because I want them to have confidence in law enforcement. I want them to have confidence in the investigation that was conducted. And I want them to know that the two people who are responsible for what happened to Teresa are where they should be. They're in prison. They're the people that did it. There isn't some other person running around that could possibly harm someone else's daughter. The people that did it are being held accountable. My wife and I, so here's the deal. My wife has a lot of challenges with her vision. I should not have ever mentioned that to anyone because I should have been smart enough to know that it would be easier to victimize her knowing that she has difficulty seeing. And like I said, I'm not around to protect her all the time. So that's why I didn't. When I discussed with her that you and I were going to speak, she asked me not to mention anything about her vision. That's why I worded it the way I did when we were talking about purchasing her a firearm.
You just did talk about it.
I know.
You did talk about it. Yeah.
And why did you say it? You didn't have to
Right.
say it.
And why did you give a gun to somebody that can't see that well, wife or not? Give them a loaded gun and say, just start shooting. I mean,
come on, Jack. They have a code.
That's right. I forgot about the code. My fault.
Stuart says shame Andy's wife didn't turn a blind eye to his affair.
Oh,
my God.
That's bad.
Right.
Yeah.
Stuart.
Stuart. Bad.
Okay. In addition to people within the United States relaying to me their opinion of my agency and myself, I receive calls from Australia, the United Kingdom, Canada, Sweden. I'm sure there were other countries as well. When I saw that not only had making a murderer tainted people's opinion of law enforcement, my agency, and myself personally in the United States, it has reached worldwide proportions. Again, much to my wife's dismay, I said that there won't be any vacationing for us. I'm not traveling out of the state of Wisconsin. I'm not going to any large social functions. I won't travel abroad. My wife is fond of taking cruises. I told her that won't be happening. Well, that sounds fun.
Yeah.
Because he'll be with his girlfriend.
Yeah. Right. He got his kids out of Wisconsin. So where the hell are the kids? If he's not leaving Wisconsin.
No idea.
Dumped them off somewhere else, and wow. They should have gone too. That might have helped. Yeah. Even though I was in law enforcement, I only seldom carry a firearm when I was off duty, usually in Manitowoc, hardly at all. I do not go anywhere now without a firearm. I am constantly armed. Thanks for letting us know. I've made no secret of that, and possibly word has gotten around that if you do confront me on the street, you better strike first, because I'm not going to allow you to harm my family or myself without a fight. I can't say that I have had people come up to me and say, "Are you that guy from Making a Murderer?" I was like, "What guy do you mean? Don't you work for the Manitowoc Sheriff's Office?" "Yes, I do." "Yes, I understand that I was portrayed in Making a Murderer, but I can't say that. While they clearly thought that it was funny to confront me, they didn't threaten me in any manner. Coming into court on a warrant, I had some individual turn himself in at court. He had a warrant out for his arrest. Rather than wait until we hooked him up, he turned himself in, and he decided, after he was released, to confront me in the parking lot of the courthouse, saying how Steve and Avery will probably be owning all of my property. You might want to liquidate your stuff, because when Stephen Avery's new defense attorney gets through with you, you won't have anything. And I asked him when he found out that he was from Missouri and had moved up here, and I asked him how he had come by all this information, and he decided not to pursue it any further. That's the closest I came to actually getting into a confrontation. Now, it hasn't been the same for Lieutenant Link. I can't speak as to Lieutenant Link's feelings, but I do know that, and I will publicly state, Lieutenant Link is a friend of mine, and the entire case almost killed him. He suffered a heart attack after it. He hasn't been in good health ever since. They moved out of the state of Wisconsin to a more secluded area in another state. Pretty much Lieutenant Link's career after the Avery case, although he worked for several years for our agency, he just was never the same. He just was never the same after it. The drive and sense of, hey, bring your A game every day. He probably brought his A game, but he didn't have the drive and the motivation that he had prior to the Avery case. It was terrible to watch what had happened to him. Sometimes I'm my own worst enemy, and that's what prompted me to confront this reporter who, damn it, just seemed to be going out of his way to fan the flames of hatred and to get all these people on board with he calls it let's get Avery out of prison and let's get him back into the community. I called him out on it, and he had actually tracked Lieutenant Link, who had been out of law enforcement for quite some time, tracked him down where he was living and made sure he printed his home address and sent a team of reporters out there to sit in front of his house, prompting Lieutenant Link to have to contact law enforcement in the state he was living to get them out of there. I put in that email, will you be happy? Will it be good enough when one of us is dead? Will that be good enough? Will that satisfy your... And, well, he started leaving Lieutenant Link alone a little bit. He certainly has had his way after that with our department and me.
Yeah, he didn't mention it,
correct.
but that's Frack. Yep, John Frack.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, all right. If there's any questions or comments, we'll take them now. But I didn't really see anything. Man was 10 years later, but Link wasn't the same after. Well, this goes back to them being involved in the first place, because the county was being sued. And
well, he was accused at trial of planting.
Yeah.
By Jerry and Dean.
Yeah, that's right. So, but again, that goes to them even having access to it because of this whole thing about the lawsuit. It put them right in the bullseye, and no one could see this. I don't know. I don't know how that would have. Well, we will never know how that could have really went without making a murderer prompting this case, in the documentary, however biased one way or the other that it was. I mean, it could have still blown up. But I mean, certainly to the level it did, no, probably not, but it could have still had a real effect. But, well, that's something we'll never know. So, all right, if there's no questions or comments, I'm going to, I'll take us out here with the last couple of pages here. So let's get it done here. It definitely landed me in some hot... Oh, thank you, Allie. Thank you very much. It definitely landed me in some hot water with the administration of my agency, because it turned the attention back on our agency. I should have known better. I should have, but I just couldn't understand. He was the editor of a local paper. I just couldn't understand why you were so quick to believe Hollywood and so determined not to stick up for the public servants that are only 2 counties away from you. I didn't understand that. He has now since moved to another state where he can now influence the whole other state on how terrible we are. He also sent me some nice regards when he found out I retired, including he likes to put my date of birth in an area. I read that wrong. Including he likes to put my date of birth in an area where we live in credit card fraud and identity theft. He likes to put my date of birth in his article. I think at Christmas, I had like 4 different credit cards opened up in my name. That, of course, I'm sure that isn't difficult. When you have my date of birth, you can get my driver's license number. I guess that's to answer your question. I haven't been like, no one has confronted me. I think a lot of these people are they're content to attack me from behind their computer keyboard. I don't like to. I put that on people that after making a murder into 3 groups. The group that doesn't believe one single word of making a murder, but wisely, publicly didn't say anything. The people that are like, well, it could have happened that way, or maybe it didn't. They're sitting on the fence. And then the other people that I'll never be able to convince as long as I live, those are how I view the community or the country as a whole after the release of Making a Murder. Hold on just a second here. We had somebody. No, it was JD.
So he's putting the guilters into a group, the group that doesn't believe one single word of making a murder, but wisely, publicly, don't say anything.
Yeah, right. Sure.
Jesus.
Okay.
Yeah.
They really do say quite a bit.
And look at the ones that were in the camp. Puzzled and
Dave.
Yeah.
Does he mean they don't say anything to stick up for him?
But they do, and that's fine. That's their choice and opinion. But you have people that have been heavily involved, and I've said it before, influenced on Reddit, that are guilters that have been embedded for years in that group. And it wasn't because they liked making murders, because they hated it, so they could influence the material that we were releasing to the public. The open records request.
Spoke out big time.
They sure did. Yep. I mean, for a long time, at first, I know a lot of people that weren't on Reddit. Well, there was probably some maybe in the live chat, but when we first started, you couldn't say people's names. You had to use their initials. Names weren't allowed. And that went on for quite some time, but I mean, these people's names were in the public. They were a public name. So that finally it's like, you know what? These people's names are all over the world. It's not like we're hiding anything, If you want to say, Officer Colborn or Officer Link or whoever, we don't need to use their initials. Everybody knows who the hell they are. So anyway, let's move on. Interestingly enough, I couldn't find while I had a local attorney willing to give me advice, that particular attorney's firm said, this is beyond our capabilities. I Googled the law firm out of Milwaukee, which is the largest city in Wisconsin, that specializes in slander and defamation. I called them. It's a huge firm. Of course, you're not going to talk to a partner. I talked to an associate, and he said, who do you want to sue? Who do you want to go after? I said, Netflix, for their irresponsible airing of this. The 2 people who made it and who have won an Emmy for it, and Jerome Buting. They recognized his name right away, so they said, yes, I'd have to run that past the partner if we were going to go after another attorney, and I can't see any of our partners going along with that. As far as Netflix, yes, you might have a case against Netflix. They'll tie it up in court. You'll never see a penny. Neither will your children, maybe your grandchildren, of which I don't have any yet, or have any. He says. He says I'll have to go and litigate this, and they'll bring in a team of 20 attorneys. Wow, so he does talk about it.
I was wrong. Yeah.
Yeah.
Forgot.
Yeah. Okay. If I was approached in an unreasonable manner like that, not just wild accusations flung at me, but approached in a reasonable manner like you just put it, hey, look, I believe in you, but this does look bad. Can you explain this? There's numerous things that have been brought up in social media that, yes, I can explain. Okay? I can't explain why I'm cramming stuff into a bookcase and there's change on top of it and it doesn't look like it moved. I can't explain it. Okay? I don't recall change even being on there, but apparently there was. Okay? TV remotes missing in one picture, so maybe that fell off, but I can't explain why this happened or that happened. All I can tell you is that when I go to court and I swear to God to tell the truth, I tell the truth. I'm not going to prison for contempt. I'm not going to prison for contempt of court or perjury. I tell the truth. If I don't know the answer, I'll say, I don't know. I can't explain that. Or if I don't remember, that's what I say. I can't recall that specific detail, but I can give you the general story. And not just me. Every single police officer that I had contact with during the course of the Stephen Avery's investigation was nothing but professional. Wow. Yeah, we can't explain this stuff not moving either and why you had to feel like you had to cram a bunch of stuff into a cabinet that had plenty of room in it.
And then change your story, Andy?
Yep. And continue to pile onto it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. As weird as it sounds, they had empathy for the Avery family. We all felt terrible about what had happened to Teresa. Our mission was to determine who committed this crime. Nobody there wants to send the wrong person to prison for something they didn't do. Nobody. Yes, there are details 13, 14, 15 years later that come up that, yes, okay, I don't exactly remember that in 2005, 6, and 7. Even if you asked me about that, I could have probably remembered it a little bit more clearly, but no, I can't tell you what was on top of the bookcase. All I can tell you is that somewhere in that bookcase was the key, because that's how it ended up on the floor. Lieutenant Link had never planted evidence. He'd worked for the two different law.
Andy? How do you know?
He's over there wrestling with this record cabinet. Hey, hellfire, that thing's kicking your butt, man. Lieutenant Link had never planted evidence. He worked for two different law enforcement agencies prior to being employed by the Manitowoc County Sheriff's Office. One was a corporate security, but I still consider that law enforcement. He had an outstanding service record. I had never had any blemishes on my service record with the military or with law enforcement prior to or after this. Why would someone decide, hey, we're going to let whoever did this terrible, terrible thing get away scot-free so that we can send this person that I didn't even know his middle name to prison? Wow. Okay, last page. Comments,
Didn't
questions?
even know his middle name?
Right.
Weird.
Yeah. Okay. They bring up the lawsuit. You did it because you had an axe to grind. You know what? In all truthfulness, I was happy for Stephen Avery. I thought I would not want to sit in prison for something I didn't do. You have that money coming. I don't care. They're not coming to my bank account and taking that money out. They're going to Manitowoc County. That's who's shelling out that money. It doesn't affect me one iota. That's why I was a little surprised when they said, you're going to have this conflict of interest because of the Stephen Avery lawsuit. I go, they didn't sue me. I don't care, but if you think that it will be seen as a conflict of interest, yes, I'm fine. I'll head home. It's pouring rain anyway, and I'm freezing. I guess that's what I would tell them. To tell you the truth, nobody who really knows me. I have very few friends. I don't make friends easily because I don't trust people. It's probably kept me alive in law enforcement. It's probably not going to be a good trait moving forward, but I don't have a lot of friends. I don't make friends easy. I'm an introverted person, but the people that are my friends that are my friends have really, other than asking me, why did you run that license plate? That's the only thing I can ever remember somebody asking me that really knew me personally. When I answered the question, they were like, makes perfect sense. You probably can't read your own writing if you're trying to write on your knee with a clipboard that's flipping around and talking on the cell phone. I hope that answered your, I do trust you. We discussed this. By we, I mean other members of your team here. They assured me that you're going to tell it like it is. I like the fact that I was told, hey, if there were mistakes that came out, they're going to be portrayed. Maybe they should have done it that way. Maybe they should have done it in this way. It doesn't change the bottom line, but that you're a straight shooter, and that's why I did it. I have to be honest with you. If for some reason your project doesn't get off the ground, I don't have another one in me. I'm not going to do this again with any other company. I'll work with you. If for some reason this doesn't go well, then I'm done. I just can't go through this anymore. I can't put my wife through it anymore. What about your girlfriend? Sorry. The end.
Yeah. Well, I can put her through cheating on her.
Yep. That's right.
Yeah, he would never want to hurt his wife.
No. Or his kids.
Right.
Or his in-laws.
Oh,
that was a lot of words.
It was a lot of words. Talked about that key a lot and that bookcase. In fact, he talked about it from the time he brought it up. It got brought up to the end. And that was, where the hell did that start? 10 pages ago? Something like that?
Yeah.
Alrighty. Comments? Questions? Didn't really see too many questions tonight, which is weird. We had a lot of questions last night. See a lot of combo going by. But I didn't really get to read much of any of it.
No, there's not been very many questions tonight, Jack. I think people have just been interested in listening and commenting in the chat, making snide comments about what Andy's saying and stuff like that. Yeah, and because we've got super supporters, some of them have been able to answer the questions that people have already asked. So that's why there was maybe not so many questions tonight. Because we have got a lot in chat who know what they're talking about now, because they've been here with us on this road for a long time now. So I think it's brilliant that they can, pull things out and just answer questions for other people and things like that. So
I want to share something since we've been talking about this. Does that look like that bookcase has been separated there in the back? Doesn't to me.
Nope.
No. Sure it doesn't.
And this is their photo. Yeah, this is their photo. I'm guessing because it looks like it's sitting right beside this desk. If you look over to the right, over here, I don't know if you can see my cursor or not, but look over here to the right. I'll scoot you this over just a tick. It's right beside where that computer desk is. But back here, I don't see any separation at all in that wood. I don't.
Well, when was this photo taken, Jack?
I suspect it was taken that very same day. November 8th.
So the key was allegedly back in that left-hand back corner?
That's right.
Or
And there
the
somewhere.
inside. And it separated and fell back and flew around the corner and
Yep.
hopped over the magic carpet slippers. And
Sure. That's right.
And the photo that they do have where they separated it is at the
I've
bottom.
got it. Yep, I've got it. I'll show it to you. I'll bring that up. Let me pull this over here.
Very small gap if it in the photo where they show you is open.
I'll have to stop sharing this one and share the other one.
I must admit, I shook it rather.
Yeah, I was none too gentle with it.
None
Yeah.
too gentle, yeah.
I must confess.
Oh, that
Yep.
porn. Oh,
Oh my God.
yeah.
Oh my God, he's a fucking idiot, man.
There you go.
There's no way the black
Yeah.
clip and the key would fall out of there. Not that gap.
And
Well,
fly
there's no way
around.
it was inside there. Even if he did push that open, look at that photo. You would have
Right.
seen it in there.
You know-
Somebody
Well,
needs to take a physics class and figure some shit out.
Yeah.
Eric
Well-
Koze did a really good demonstration with this, with a key on a little fob, and he
Oh yeah.
Yep.
did try to make it go through, and it kept getting stuck in that gap by the fob. The whatever the end of it is, it kept getting stuck, and it wouldn't fall out the bottom. So I don't know how it fell out at all, even if
Well,
it was
you
in
know,
there
He was
somewhere.
none too gentle.
I mean, good grief. So rough with it that all the shit on top didn't get bothered, but not rough enough
Yeah.
to make it fall out, I don't think. And of course Eric Koze had all the, he had change and all kinds of random stuff on top of it too. And he demonstrated, obviously. There's no way to flip flop and twist and shout with that thing or whatever he said. And not
missed that
disturb
video.
that stuff. Yeah, it was a good video he did. It's probably
Uh-huh.
still up on his channel, but
I'm sure
Yeah.
it is.
and it did not go.
Yeah.
It would not come out the bottom. He couldn't make it. He tried several times and he couldn't make it come out all the way. It would fall and get stuck.
Right.
I could see the metal bit of the key poking through. I cannot see the plastic and that blue tab going
Exactly.
through that gap.
Yeah.
Well,
Exactly.
let's just go back here, and I hate I have to remove this and add it back, but that's StreamYard. I don't have my photo thing opened. It was just quicker for me to find it this way. Let me put this other one back up. That one right there. Okay. The thing is that when they empty this cabinet out to this degree, and they could clearly see in there, there would have been some evidence of that key, the fob or the key, being there in that back left corner. That's right. It would have had to have been there when they emptied it out.
But it seems like that dust would be disturbed if that key with that fabric and that plastic had been laying there and it went sliding off with the force to fly through the crack and around the corner.
Well, now look. Now, Fassbender said that Brendan and Steven scoured that trailer. They scoured it, so this is clean.
Scoured it.
Okay, scoured it. I mean, you can see if you look close. I'm not going to zoom this because if I do, it's going to screw up StreamYard and it'll throw me out. But you can see the lines if you look. There are lines here where the binder and other books were in there. But you're right. That the fabric of that key, I think would have definitely.
It's going to dust an area, like see at the front, in the middle front, right behind the left post.
Yeah.
Where someone's glove breezed across it and dusted it.
That's
you can
right.
see a few dusted places from them touching. So they didn't touch inside that very much with gloves, or it would be dusted.
Well,
You would
and
see more of those.
thinking
Or
about
is
that
that
key, thinking about that key and that fob, I don't remember seeing any dust on that fob. Do you guys?
No.
Or maybe, is that a shadow actually of the post, or is that, maybe I'm incorrect on what that is. That could
No, I
be a
see what
shadow.
I see what you're talking about. Shoots off a little bit to the right of that post. No, the shadow's behind. I can see the shadow. I don't think that's
Yeah, I
shadow.
don't know where the light is. So
the
okay,
shadow
never
goes cast. The shadow casts back to that left corner, almost.
Thing is, on the middle piece of wood or that slat going down, there's 3 fingerprint marks or smudge marks halfway up.
Okay.
Yep.
Fingers have been there at least.
I see in between. Yeah, in the center.
Yeah.
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 But again, I don't see any separation in the back of this cabinet now. If there was, and it's just an illusion that I can't tell, okay, I guess I can live with that, but I'm not seeing it. It looks to me like that this whole thing is together. So anyway, I just wanted to show.
What's the dustiest part of the cabinet up there?
Sorry?
If this is prior to them pushing that shit and pushing the back out,
I don't know
key
that.
has to be in there.
Right.
But the key
I agree.
would have to be in there. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, why wouldn't they
It's
have
a tiny
looked?
little bookcase. They would have
Right.
seen in there. He
Right.
took a photograph, for God's sake.
That's right.
I think there's a top part to this.
There is
No,
a little
I
shelf.
think, yeah, a little shelf or something, and maybe
there
they
is.
didn't take the stuff off the shelf, and then that's what Ericozy was trying to do, was like he had it up there, because obviously you see this picture and that's not pulled apart yet, so this must have been taken, like you said, before they put the stuff back in. I'm not sure why they're taking a picture of it empty like this, but when they're shoving that stuff back in, they're expecting that whatever's on that top shelf was knocked down and fell down here and then was knocked out that back way or something, supposedly.
Yeah, I'll pull up one more photo here. There's a few here on this. And this photo is, let's see. Yeah, this is after. I don't think there's any photos on this, in this bunch that I have, that shows what's on top of that book cabinet. Let me go back here 1 second. Okay, photos. I thought there was. That's why I went to where I'm at here, but this is. Yeah, I don't see. There's the key. It's that one. Okay. This is probably as good a one as any.
Do you reckon they could have taken that photograph the day they found the key and then damaged the cabinet on the 9th of December when they actually had the warrant to retrieve it? And that's where they broke it. Well, that's giving them a month then to make a story up.
I don't know.
See that top little section? That's what I'm talking about, where they think maybe the key was up in there behind that stuff, and it was still, that stuff was still in there. But when they were shoving the stuff back in the bottom and knocked it loose, that the key fell out from behind the shelf and fell down and then out and sideways and did flips
around the corner.
Magically.
Yeah.
It flies out.
Basically broke the laws of physics and landed down here on the floor somehow. Yeah,
Well,
but even with this, Go ahead, Doc.
Well, have a look at the slippers. See how the slippers are right against the cabinet?
Yep.
If you look at Kaczarski's picture, the slippers have moved.
They're to the left, aren't they?
Right? The slippers have actually moved. So hence, how do you explain the movement of the slippers, the distance that they did? Because in essence, that key was hiding underneath the slippers.
That's right. So how did they see it?
Yeah, correct.
I agree.
So now we've got the great parting slippers. we've got another divine intervention.
Yep. And not only that, again, you can see even with this big binder in here, I see that there's some stuff back here beside that binder, but there's still room in there. It's not like it's, this stuff is bowed out and just crammed full and where there's no room.
He had to jam that in there.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It would have been better for them. I mean, I'm sure, again, there was no expectation of this going anywhere, but just right there in that county or that area, not being, broadcast to the world. So no one would really question it like they have, and continue to this day.
So is this before or after the key?
This is before the key. Pretty sure.
I don't see
Yes,
11 or
it's in
12 bags
Kratz's
of
book.
corn in that little cabinet.
It's in Kratz's book. He says it's before the bookshelf was moved. So that's a before.
I don't see many
Where's all the
magazines
porn?
in there at all. Where's all the porn? Right?
Right. I mean, I think there's these books here in the middle area. There's probably some of the porn magazines, maybe some over here to the right, and maybe some could be a little bit in here in that top section where Allie was talking about. But
yeah,
what, 2 magazines or something?
Well,
10 to 15 paper bags worth.
Yeah,
those are big for a
collection.
Those are. Don't the width of those magazines or whatever those are look kind of thick for a porn magazine?
Well, I can see this one right here beside this blue book as a Playboy. I think this one in the blue is a Playboy. I think that's right. I don't know about the one to the left of the blue Playboy.
Oh, he's bought the monthly editions, not the weekly ones.
Right.
Okay.
That looks like
That's why.
what do you call it? The yellow one.
Penthouse.
No, the ones that have the native women naked.
Oh,
But-
I don't know about.
National
Jurassic-
Geographic.
Oh,
Jurassic
National Geographic.
Morphers.
Okay.
Oh, that's too tall.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like. Oh yeah, they're shorter.
That's a phone
Yeah.
book. That's a phone book, guys.
Yeah.
That's
I
their
think so,
local
too.
phone book. That's
I
what that
think
is.
so, too.
Yeah.
Yep.
But anyway, again, I could pull up the picture. I'm not going to do it, but I could pull it up. It's in the photos, and they got a table back at the Calumet County. They got all the porn laid out there, or these Playboys laid out there, whatever. There's not 10 or 15 bags of porn. No.
No, I see 2 Playboys.
Right. So
Crazy.
it is indeed.
There was a couple more. I know, a couple more mags, but that was a crazy statement. That's why they needed a box. That's the reason Link had to go to the room. Because they needed a box. There was so much of it.
Right.
Explain away, explain away, explain away. Cover everything. Every little detail.
Well,
Sorry.
again, no, you're fine. I mean, them being involved, again, it caused them, and hindsight's always 20/20, but them being involved in the case at all has created this problem. It has for me, I know it has for a lot of people.
Come on, Jack.
I know.
You should not be questioning his integrity because he has been in the military. He has
Right.
been law enforcement. He's never had his integrity professionally questioned, whatever that means. What does
Well,
professionally questioned mean?
I guess that means he doesn't have anything specific in his record that we can go read, whether it's actually been questioned or not. And probably up until whatever time frame, that's all well and good. But then when you get into the lawsuit and we find out that he's been an adulterer, and that's what caused the breakup of his marriage, instead of he blamed it on making a murderer.
Yeah, he got caught in a bunch of lies anyway, so
Yeah,
he
and that creates
doesn't have that great of integrity.
Well, it creates another problem, right?
Yeah.
Do you know when he said that the other kid had a different surname? Was that his kid or somebody else's? As in, from his wife's side of it.
Was his wife married previous?
Well, no, he said his children had to leave Wisconsin or whatever it was.
Right.
And he had one child, which he didn't need to do anything with because he had a different surname. Now,
maybe it was his wife's child from another marriage.
Yeah, but don't get me wrong. If they can find out of his address and they can find out what cars he drives, they can find out that kid's name. I just thought that was odd. But I took that it wasn't his kid. That's how I accepted that.
I don't remember his family history, or I don't remember Barbara having children by another relationship. I don't recall that, but it could be. Susan, do you recall anything from everything we read through in the case?
About what? I'm sorry.
If Barbara, Colborn's wife, had a prior relationship and had a child. I don't recall that.
Oh, I don't know that. Well, Colborn did. He had a prior marriage. Well,
that would still be.
It did have his last name.
Yeah, unless the child took the mom's last name and not Colborn's.
Unless he didn't marry her, had a child out of wedlock. I'm not sure.
Are you questioning his integrity?
He's a
very
Christian man.
Cherie posted the link to Eric Cosey's video.
Cool.
About the.
Cool.
God, I got to watch that tonight now.
That's even later. You got to step. That's Cherie did that. It's not me. I didn't keep you. If that would be Cherie. Okay. Okay. I've just been trying to flow through the comments, but everybody's just kind of chatting. I don't really see too many questions. I mean, it's been interesting going through this and seeing what was said in this interview. What parts. Of course, some of this we heard in Convicting a Murderer, but a lot of it that was left out. With good reason. I mean, personally, we all know for good reason. But again, it goes back to the involvement of Manitowoc, this mutual aid thing. I think it was a horrible decision. I mean, after we really learned about the lawsuit and really understood the implications of it, and then for Manitowoc to be involved in this case, and that not even thinking about anything nefarious, not even thinking that, but the appearance of impropriety is overwhelming. And then we found out they made multiple entries into his house and garage, which typically, again, I've never heard of a case of this many entries. Never. Not one time.
Yeah.
And I've looked at a lot of cases. It is crazy. That's why they go in and they stay. Sometimes they stay for, 18, 20 hours to get everything they can get, because they know that short of something fantastic, they're not going to be allowed to go back in, because that, again, it's happened before, these fishing expeditions, and judges just won't allow it. I mean, to me, this should have been a much bigger thing at trial. It wasn't, but alrighty. If there's nothing else, I don't want to hold everybody here all night. We're heading into New Year's Eve tomorrow. That will not be an open mic because there'll probably be. I'm not saying people will be drinking or buzzed, but they might be.
Well, it's actually New Year's Eve now for me.
Well, Happy New Year's Eve.
Happy New Year.
And in Australia.
Happy New Year's Eve.
Yeah, it's already.
Oh,
yeah,
Happy New Year.
Yep. December the 31st here.
Yep. It'll be. You got a few more hours. Well, I guess the bulk of the day, but still.
Yep. It's 12:31 p.m.
There you go. So basically 11 and a half hours.
Yep.
It'll be 2024 for Doc. Okay. Well, let's tell you what. Let's do. We're right at 3 hours. We just crossed the 3 hour mark. Let's go around the room, final comments, and we're going to get the heck out of here. So first up, Alice, final thoughts.
Final thoughts. Reading that does not change my mind whatsoever about how Colborn was in Ma'am. His actions or his lack of action is what got him where he is today. I do not agree with the calls and things like that he got. I don't agree with that at all. But the man hasn't helped himself. Like we've said, every time he's told the story, something's changed or added, or he can't remember. But now all of a sudden, 13 years on, he can remember near enough everything. It's just bloody ridiculous. I'd like to say thank you to everyone in chat. Happy Hogmanay to the ones in the UK, and Happy New Year to everyone else when it comes. I hope you have a good one. Have lots of drinks and parties, and we shall see you all in 2024. Thanks, Jack. Thanks, panel.
Thank you so much, Alice, and Happy New Year's to you and yours. Next we have Kay. What's up, Kay?
Man, these cops like Andrew Colborn just piss me off, and they're everywhere. They are everywhere. His antics of, acting all righteous and
playing
creating
the victim,
over-explaining stories, acting like he's the one who's been wrong, keep himself solidly planted into that victim role, blaming everyone else for it's just so gross to watch. And these fuckers destroy all kinds of lives, and go around and pound their chests like they're the ones that have been wronged. It's just so gross. And the stories that they craft, hey, let's just, make up this fiction here and say it real loud and often, and a bunch of people will soon believe us. It's just, I'm so grossed out by it. I've been immersed in this for 8 years now, these people, and I am so sick of them. Anyway, Happy New Year. Oh, man. No, really, Happy New Year to everyone. It's coming right up. Another one we can just blaze right through.
That's right. All right. Thank you so much, Kay. Happy New Year's to you and family. Hope you have a good. I don't know that. I'm not saying you'll be drinking or anything, but if you do, enjoy.
All right. It'll be fun.
There you go. Allie, final thoughts.
Yeah. I might be drinking, and I don't know. Who knows what I'll be doing. I'll I'll probably drink. I'll probably go live just because I'm bored, and that's what I do. I have nothing better to do. But this was super fun tonight, like really interesting. I was really sucked into it, especially tonight. Listening to all the things that he said. He did talk a lot, doesn't he? Like just
Yes.
all of the. It's a lot of information, but then like y'all were saying earlier, but then he leaves out Cuss Road, something that you would think would be, kind of a major event. And we get called away to go over here to do this. That's just like every other thing. He got called away from doing this to go do that. But that was a big thing that he got called away to go check on this, suspected burial site. And they were there for so long, you would think that they would have mentioned something with, the dogs being there, all the people being there, there's ambulance there, just all the things going on over there, mentioned something about it. But it was really interesting that he didn't, and that Brenda kind of steered him around it, if that's what happened.
I
the way it looks.
I think that's what happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think she steered him away from it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good
She didn't
idea
want to
for
go
her.
down that road. Yeah.
Smart. It's very smart. Very shady too. I'm sorry, very shady. But yeah, thanks again for having me on with this. This has been wonderful hanging out with you guys and being part of this with you. I really appreciate it. And Happy New Year to everybody on panel and in chat. Happy New Year. Hope you have a great New Year. Yeah, that's
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ollie, and Happy New
Thank
Year to
you.
you. And if you want to get drunk and go live, hey, that's wonderful. I may join you. I'm not sure that
do it.
I don't really drink too much anymore, but I do have a bottle of Crown Royal Peach, and it is some good shit. I mean to tell you,
Oh
I haven't touched it.
my.
I haven't touched it since my birthday, which was 4 months right at, it was in August. I haven't touched it, so I don't
There we
know.
go.
I haven't decided yet. I'm having a drink, maybe two. I just don't drink
Yeah.
anymore.
I'm not much
stopped.
of a drinker either, but
Yeah.
I've got I've got a big bottle of whiskey in my freezer that's been sitting there forever.
Oh, just looking at you, right?
Yeah, it's bugging me every time I get ice. Like,
That's right.
drink me. No, I'm good. But yeah, New Year's Eve, I might as well. I'm not going to go anywhere, so that'd be
Yep.
fun.
Same here. I'm not going anywhere. Alrighty, Allie. Thank you very much. Thanks for coming on the panel and sharing your thoughts and reading. So next we have Cherie. Final thoughts, Cherie.
Thank you very much. It was frustrating and interesting at the same time. I did have a question from Lisa wanting to know if you have the docs on the site, or will they be on the site feeds that we just went through?
I'm not sure that it's always put them up on the website yet, but I will make sure that I'll get them. We have a room where we drop things for her to add to the website. I'll get them to you one way or the other, Lisa, if they're.
They were
Until-
posted in the office.
Yeah, but
But
I don't know if
might
Lisa's.
be
I
hard
don't.
to find them.
I don't know if Lisa's in our Discord. Are you in our Discord, Lisa?
Oh, okay.
One way or the other, I'll make sure you get them. Okay, I'll take care of that. That's easy. Anything else, Cherie?
No, thank you very much.
Alrighty. Happy New Year to you and family. Hope you enjoy it. Have a pleasant evening and a great New Year.
Thank you. You too.
Susan, final thoughts.
Yeah. Well, now I'm thinking maybe I'll drink some wine on New Year's and join you guys, because I'm gonna be home
Hey.
alone. So
Well, there you go.
you never know. We'll see. But yeah, I'm glad we're through these actually, because I do get tired of. I read that I think twice, and then this would be the third time going through it. So yeah, I've had enough of it. I think Andy is so obvious. The way he tells his stories, that he's embellishing, he's making stuff up, and when it doesn't make sense, it's doesn't make sense. It's not real. So many of his stories, and he's particularly covering for, certain aspects that are so suspicious in this case. And
Yep.
I'm sorry, Andy. I don't believe a lot of what you've said. I don't believe you're a planter. But I believe you'll do what you got to do to keep your job.
Help the case.
Help the case. You
Yep.
think he's guilty? What's it going to hurt? He's a guilty guy. Put him away.
Yep.
Whatever
He's a
it
bad
takes,
guy.
right?
That's right. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Say Happy New Year to everyone. And thanks for coming. Thanks for being here with us. See y'all
Thank you,
next
Susan,
year.
for the wonderful reading you always do. We all really appreciate it. You're such an excellent reader. We can't thank you enough.
Thank you, Jack.
And I truly appreciate it.
Sorry I have such a shitty voice, but
You don't. Especially your Ken Kratz voice is so
oh God.
All righty. I'm going to go to Jay. I don't know if Doc's back yet. I'm going to go to Jay. I think Doc is back, but we'll let Doc run. Well, Doc, are you ready?
Yeah.
Yeah.
First of all, I'd like to thank you so much, Jack61, for putting up the documents and everyone on the panel. Yeah, I found this really super frustrating. I had to basically mute my mic. Otherwise, we would have gone for another 2 hours. It's really extraordinary, and I echo what Susan said. I don't think convicting a murderer made things any easier for Andy. I really don't. Personally, I believe it's made things worse. He tried to explain himself on a lot of the things that he was involved in. He essentially got caught out. When it comes to the cabinet, the finding of the key, one of the most damning pieces of evidence, of course, were the coins and everything else on top of the cabinet, which didn't move. It's quite clear that he was given an opportunity to come up with a cover story on how on earth that key could have possibly been found where it was. I believe he failed really miserably. And it's remarkable that, a lot of people are hypercritical of Stephen Avery if he gets something wrong or comes up with a different fact. But at the end of the day, the most consistent person throughout is Stephen in his narrative. The one that keeps on changing and embellishing and adding extra things is none other than Andrew Colborn. And again, guys, I'm not going to carry on, but it's today was very, very frustrating reading these what we just read through. Like I said, Lord help if they're going to do a cam 2, because I don't think someone like Kathleen Zellner nor her experts are going to sit idly by. Colborn tried his best with the civil lawsuit. It fell flat on its face. They took a gamble, really, really backfired. To tell you the truth, guys, I don't think this has helped him or his cause. Of course, we don't condone all the shocking people that rang up and did death threats and things like that. But
No.
at the end of the day, if Andrew had made the decision, guys, I can't help you. I'm being part of a civil lawsuit. I can't come on the property. I'll help. I'll make a sandwich, but I can't be involved in any of the searching. It would have been Andrew who, Lenk who. So he stepped right into the mouth of the fire.
Yep, I agree, Doc.
Cannot blame anybody else but himself. As tough as that is, but he had made a choice, and he never told Pagel of his involvement, and he could have easily stepped aside to say, I can't get involved. I could only work on the periphery, but his hands were on critical pieces of evidence. I'm sorry.
Well, maybe more than one, because we don't know really what happened at Cuss Road, and he was
Correct.
called there twice. We
Correct.
just don't know.
But apart from that, Happy New Year to everyone. Thank you so much, Jack 61. We'll catch you all in 2024.
Well, I want to say thanks for everything that you do, Doc. You do so much work behind the scenes, like so many. You give your time freely. You don't have to do it, but you do, because we're advocating for the truth.
Correct.
Not just for a side, for the truth. Wherever that goes, it goes. And we're gonna put it out there, whatever we got. We believe that I think we all at minimum think that Brendan needs to be freed and Stephen deserves a new trial, but that's just a belief, just based on what we know. So anyway, wanted to thank you for all that and everything that you do. And
thank you so much, guys.
You and family have a wonderful 2024.
Thank you so much.
Yep. Then Jay, final thoughts.
Oops, I lost my mic then. Yeah, I just looking forward to the fact that if KZ gets somewhere and Stephen gets to get a new trial, I want to hear another version of Andy Colborn's story again, because I've got a feeling it's going to change again, and we'll see him for exactly what he is. But other than that, I don't think he did plant anything. I think he's run with the story, and he cannot change it now because he's gone too far with it. So I think it's all blown out of proportion. And what he says, he's covering up, trying to justify it, and he can't. And the fact of the matter is, he should basically stop, because going on to Cam, doing Netflix, I think he was pouring oil onto the fire. So,
yep.
There we are. But I'd like to wish everybody a happy new year. So, and see you all in 2024.
Thank you so much, JD. You've been on with us many times, and we appreciate the support. You coming on, giving your thoughts and opinions, and along for the ride. We really appreciate it, and all the support. For a lot of people follow us. We just try to put out our opinions and thoughts on what we see in the case. We beat a lot of it to death. I imagine we're going to continue to do that, but we're going to try to go into some older areas. I plan on, for the open mic next year, we're going to get back to the depositions. I'm gonna start going through the Calumet County dispatch calls, which we've never done. I'll try to think of a good. We're not going to play them all. There's too many. I'm talking about the main channels. Basically channel 1, which a lot of times we hear radio traffic. Channel 6 and channel 7. That's basically it. I'm not going to. Well, there's a little bit in some other areas, but we'll get to that. But again, continuing to talk about the case and what people that are out there that maybe have never taken the time to listen to, we're going to cover it. And hopefully anything new is coming up here, unless there's another extension by KZ. I think it's due the 18th. I think that's right. Her brief.
January's the next one, isn't it? She got to submit it.
Yeah, January 18th. I think she can probably file for another extension, but I think it's only a short one. Isn't that right, Susan? Don't correct me here, or Cherie. I think if she files for another extension, it's only for like 10 days if it's granted. Something like that.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think that's right. But anyway, hopefully we'll have her new brief here in a few weeks. But my thoughts on this, I've kind of made them clear. I agree with Susan. Well, pretty much everyone. The note is a real concern for me that we talked about last night. If that note was left there and it was found near or on the car, then that brings up another problem with Joe Ellen, right? Because if Teresa was there, left a note, and didn't talk to anyone, that's a problem, right? Because that brings in her story and her testimony. Where the hell did that come from? I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm just saying, why leave a note if you've talked to someone at the house?
I think she could have done both.
It's possible.
Joe Ellen could have been so disinterested in what she was doing that she felt she needed to write it down. I don't know.
It's possible. It both could have happened.
Yeah.
But the very fact that the note wasn't, everything in that bag was shown except for that note. It's kind of weird to me, but anyway, just throwing that out.
Yeah.
Just part of something else
Yes.
that's it's just an oddity. But I think that I should request that from the clerk because it is an exhibit, so we should be able to get clear photos of the entire thing, all of it. So
Or
I
you'll
think
get the
that's something.
full A4 sheet then, won't you?
Well, hopefully that note still exists. It's in that bag. It's a court exhibit, so I don't have to, I don't have to talk to anybody at CASO. I just call the Barbara Pamperin at the Manitowoc County Clerk, and she should be able to get that for me right away.
So
Shouldn't be a problem.
that note that we saw was taken from, was it from somebody took a photograph off cam and then gave
Yeah.
you that picture?
Well,
So,
it was on Twitter or X now. It was Avery Wave that actually captured that screenshot off of convicting a murderer.
so how were they entitled to get the evidence and actually take a camera shot or a shot of that on a desk? Because surely that should be in evidence.
Well, it's a court exhibit, so it's available to the public, but how that all worked out, I don't have a clue. I can't answer that question, Jay. I don't know.
Because I'm sure on cam, I'm sure Brenda was in some sort of room. She had her blue gloves on. And
Well, that's it. That was evidence. Yes, that was an evidence room. That's different than a court exhibit. I mean, it's possible that they could have, requested this from the clerk the same way I plan to do, and laid that stuff out and taken a photograph, right?
Yeah.
So
they could have done that in the room, said, here's the exhibit, taken the photo, put it back, put it in the seal, and back it.
Well, I mean, exhibits aren't sealed, so they're just, they just have them. I have access to them. I would imagine everything's digital now anyway. So, like I said, they could have just received this and arranged that photograph where we can only see, it's not the full thing, but we can definitely see part of it as a note that Teresa wrote out. So, I don't know. That's a good question. I can't answer it.
Jack,
Yep.
Hugh Fraser's joined us in chat. He says, "Hi all. I have a small niggle from yesterday's session. AC spoke of having to keep changing 12 exposure film rolls, but they were more typically 24 or 36 exposure."
Well, we know from somebody doing an open records request that there were, if I'm not mistaken, there were 24 on the ones he took, Hugh. The rolls of film he had were 24 exposures each. So, and as far as I know, he only changed it one time. So, this excuse of him having to change film and dealing with that, that's what I recall. Each roll had 24 exposures. So, anyway, again, I agree that this story has about the key and it has really been embellished to such a degree that I don't know how you could, if there was ever a new trial, how would that ever be presented? I think about that too. How would that ever get into court? Thinking about Kratz talking to the jury, can't we just set this sumbitch aside? Basically saying these cops were just really, they think this guy's guilty. They're just trying to help out. Kratz saying to Fassbender and Uyghur, you guys just fucked my rule, he fucked my case up. Sorry for the crude language, but that's what he said. That's what he said on cam. Because he knew it. They're coming out of there after they'd been there for 3 days, and all of a sudden they've got a key to this car that's found in his bedroom somehow. This regular cabinet defecated a key sideways and broke laws of physics. Sorry. Doesn't work for me.
Was it the key that he said he's only going to spend 20 seconds on in court?
Yeah, it was the Corey. That was the Corey. Yeah, that was the Corey. He didn't want to talk about the Corey either. Because he didn't want the jury even hinting at anything was found in that quarry off of the Avery salvage yard, because they're thinking, well, wait a minute, I thought you said this was all done on the Avery salvage yard, not the quarry, Anyway, for myself, hopeful that we can get, even more new information this coming year. It's really been difficult this year to get anything Well, Manitowoc actually has been very cooperative. Pretty much within a few days, I get an answer and a price, boom, and I've got it. This last round of Jody calls, this is another real puzzle that I can't fully answer. Requesting these Jody calls from Manitowoc, they had to have originated there. A copy had to be ripped from their files and given to Wiegert. There's 80, I think there's 86 calls and one jail visit in this last batch, and they don't have a record of it. And then there's apparently no record of anybody ripping these CDs and handing them off. And that's a real problem for me. There should be a record, right, wrong, or indifferent, right? There should be a record of, I'm sure those calls in December 05 that we don't have yet. Somebody's got to have them because they were definitely recorded. They're in the crisis discovery list that he sent to Beauty and String. So, or Loy. Well, at that time it would have been Loy, but they would have known about it anyway. So anyway, moving on. I want to touch just briefly on one final little story, and this is something I shared in Discord. I don't think I've talked about it on here. This is a story that happened out of St. Louis, and I'm referring to what Kay commented about these cops are everywhere. And I don't think anybody here thinks that all cops are bad. I don't at all. But there is clearly some out there that got real problems, okay? So what happened in St. Louis, this has been a couple of weeks ago probably this started. This cop in St. Louis, and this bar is a gay bar that was closed, and he swerved into it and hit it. He hit the building, did some damage, okay? The bar owner lives upstairs above the bar, and of course he heard it, immediately went downstairs, and he goes out, he's like, what the heck's going on, you know? And this cop that ran into the building is demanding the guy's ID right off the bat. He's like, you hit my building. What? I haven't done anything wrong. Why are you demanding my ID? Anyway, they ultimately charged that guy. I can't remember. I think resisting arrest. I don't remember.
Or something.
Yeah, that's right. And took him to jail. Seriously, took him to jail. They ran into his building. He gets arrested for resisting arrest. Anyway,
and it's caught on camera.
Well, actually,
the excuses he gave.
Yeah,
for
go ahead.
Running into the building were lies, right?
That's right. This guy's name is Tizzy Ent, Tizzent. He's got a TikTok channel. I think he does stuff on YouTube as well. This guy's really good. He reports everything. He's not just one-sided or the other.
Tizzy's great.
Anyway, oh, you like him too? Yeah. My son is that grocery guy, and he's the one he follows Tizzy religiously. He's on TikTok a lot, follows his stuff. He sends it to me. Anyway, so he had this video, this TikTok, and I think a day or two later there was another one. They kept digging, and this cop said he swerved to miss a dog that ran out in front of him and hit the bar. That's what the cop said. Well, then, come to find out, there's external security footage showing the cop going down the road. There is no dog, and he swerved into the building. There's another video that come out, I think, a few days later, maybe 3 or 4. Like I said, I shared all this in our Discord. There's another video showing this cop blowing through a red light. He was hauling ass. And he also said that he swerved to miss a car that was in his way or something. I don't know. There was plenty of room. There was no car in his way. The car was parked on the side of the road just like a bunch of other cars. But he swerved to miss that car, which was also not true. I'm not sure where this is. I haven't heard anything else yet. So just talking about, bad cops. But the department's doubled down. Oh, yeah. There was another video showing at least a couple of cop cars plus one of these transport type vehicles that they use to transport prisoners parked across the street from this bar after the story kind of blew up in the media. So the St. Louis police, I guess, are kind of doubling down on this for some reason. I don't get it. I really don't understand.
And they did not test him for drinking.
No.
Right?
They did not test. No. They did not do a breathalyzer on that cop at all, and I think that's kind of standard procedure.
They said, "We know this guy, and we could tell he wasn't impaired."
That's right.
That's what they said.
That's right.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Anyway, just talking about bad police. They are employed in our law enforcement all across the country, and that's what I don't like. And I wish there was a mechanism. I talked about this last night with Allie and Jeremy. I wish there was a good way for police to be able to say, you know what, you need to do something about this XYZ cop, whatever, because yada yada yada. Without that cop feeling threatened, his family threatened, his livelihood, because these people they got to pay a house payment, a car payment, just like everybody else, right? And they probably, I mean, I know it's a calling probably for a lot of police that they want to help people. This is what they wanted to do probably for a big part of their adult life. This is what they want to do, is help people. Good, bad, or indifferent. Sometimes they run across bad people and they have to take harsh action. I get it. I'm for law enforcement. I'm for honest, good law enforcement. That's what I'm for. I'm not for cops that have a different set of rules than they're protected. I'm not for that at all, because that is wrong on every level, and I don't care if it's here or anywhere else in the world. That's my spiel. Anyway, I'm going to get us out of here. Let me make sure I can get this popped on the screen, because it didn't show up last night, and that really irritates me. Let me try this here. Get our ending screen here. Surely that's going to show. Come on, don't be like that. There it is. Okay, I'm going to say we want to thank everyone that's followed us for the year. Our numbers have grown dramatically for people that want to come and hear what we have to say. If you have a comment, please leave it. Please be civil in our comment section. We don't have to delete too many. We don't like deleting comments. Be civil. Make your statement. If you don't agree with us, that's fine. We understand. Not everybody's going to agree. Do your own research. Go through the information that we have. Request your own information if you believe that we're leaving stuff out. We don't. I get back into again. Well, what about the Chuck reports? You haven't published those. We published part of them, but some of it is irrelevant to the case. It's about personal stuff that has nothing to do with, Teresa or Stephen. It's completely separate. You can certainly request those too, but anything that's relevant, we're not going to withhold it. So there's that. Hopefully this coming year, we're going to get into some new information and be able to keep interest and generate even more. We'll see what Zellner does. And we're just going to report what we have. That said, I want to wish everybody a Happy New Year to you and yours. I'm going to say, this has been a Foul Play production. Happy New Year!